We are honored to be here tonight performing for the first time in public the first draft of what would have been the 5th Christopher Reeve Superman film, Superman Reborn. Of course, produced by Ilya Salkind, story by Ilya Salkind, Mark Jones, and Cary Bates, and screenplay by Mark Jones and Cary Bates. Before we begin, I also want to thank, of course, the Kaplan Loring Foundation for the grant for us to do this evening. And of course, I want to remind you that we're also extremely honored to be partnered with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation for Spinal Cord Injury Research. You'll notice in the back of your programs there's a QR code. You don't have to do it now, but if you at some point would love to donate, we would love it if you would donate. Again, this is a free show, but this would be a great way to, as we hit the holiday season, scan the QR code. It's right in the back of your programs, and it'll take you right to a donation page. Also, for those who are watching after the fact at home, because we are recording tonight's performance, there will be a link to the donation page in the video description. That said, I'm going to ask everybody to please turn off your cell phones now. Also, if you, for some reason, if you have to use the restroom, we request that you do so quickly and quietly if we're still performing, but there will be an intermission this evening. We're going to do the first half of the script, then we'll have a 10-minute intermission. We'll do the second half of the script. We're very honored to have Ilya Salkind and Mark Jones here this evening for a short Q&A that we'll do after we finish the script. And then, of course, if you all want to, you're more than welcome to then join us afterwards for a quick drink at the Broadwater Plunge, which is the bar connected to the theater. So, with that being said, your cast for Superman Reborn! Come on out, guys! Let's begin. Fade in, black. Then we super. Then an extreme close on a piece of machinery, something from the future, not of this world. Other close-ups of other machines as they build something massive, fearsome, foreboding. Strange, dark parts are being fitted, burnished, molded, calibrated. Robotic arms continue to assemble this huge something. Everything's in extreme tight shots, and finally, a close-up on a black, geometric mechanized eye. And as it is fit into a massive black metallic structure, something has been built, but we cannot imagine what. Main titles end and we super now. Fade to black. Silent, cold, foreboding. We hold the black screen for a long time, then we begin to hear the theme music from I Love Lucy. Lucy! Some static, then the famous theme music from Dragnet, and then...
It's my job. I'm a cop.
More static, and music from the Jack Benny program. Rochester.
I'm coming, Mr. Benny, I'm coming.
Screen still black. Static, and the theme from the Honeymooner show.
Bang, zoom, to the moon, Alice, to the moon.
More static, then silence for a beat, then gunshots. The tiny sounding orchestra playing the William Tell Overture. A deep melodramatic voice, the screen remaining black.
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver with his faithful Indian companion Tonto.
The famous opening of the Lone Ranger TV series. Now we start to pull out from the vast blackness, and now we become aware that we have not been on a black screen. We have been inside something dark and foreboding. Inside the interior of a complex eye, a non-human eye, a geometric mechanized eye.
The daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early West.
Continue to pull back to reveal the eye as part of a robotic head in semi-shadow under dim light. The face of a machine with these strange black eyes, expressionless, sinister, sold.
Return with us now to the thrilling days of yesteryear. The Lone Ranger rides again.
The pullback continues to reveal the shadowy head belonging to a monstrous 8-foot robot. Frightening, cold, evil. This is Brainiac. If the devil himself ever forged the machine out of the molten depths of hell, it would look like Brainiac. He sits in his command chair, a high-tech throne in the center of the bridge of his huge spaceship. Everything in this vessel is of ultra-high-tech alien design, light years beyond anything humans could imagine. A row of screens float in midair, having no borders or tangible components. They show the flickering black and white images of a 1950s television episode of The Lone Ranger. But the reception on all screens are marred by static. Cut to deep inside Brainiac's gargantuan spacecraft. An open-top jet tram as it zips through a clear tube, one of many transport tubes that network their way through the miles-long vessel. The sounds of galloping hooves and melodramatic music echo throughout the ship.
We may camp now, Kimosabi.
Good thinking, Tonto.
Closer on the jet tram, Kosmo at the helm. Short, unisexual, human with an extraterrestrial kink or two. Kosmo and Kosmo alone comprise his Brainiac's entire crew. He is Brainiac's servant, whipping boy, companion, flunky, scapegoat. And we notice Kosmo has a habit of tilting his head to his right, looking down at his shoulder and talking to himself.
Fantasy. That's all it is. Mindless rubbish. Up there he sits, day and night, ever since we began intercepting the signals. A 12th level intellect machine.
Kosmo's jet tram whooshes down the transport tube on his way to the bridge. The black and white images of the Lone Ranger zig and zag on all screens as Brainiac tries to adjust the marred reception. With every movement of Brainiac, we hear alien servo motors mesh, hydraulics hiss. The annoying static persists. Brainiac remains focused on the screen when Kosmo steps onto the bridge out of breath.
Brainiac.
No response.
Brainiac.
Kosmo's deep-rooted fear of the robot has afflicted him with a serious stutter whenever he's in Brainiac's presence. The robot swivels his head, locking eyes with Kosmo.
The vessel we detected, it's a Vargon transport. They're stranded. Sustained massive damage.
Brainiac resumes watching the Lone Ranger. Static continues to mar the television images.
Their life support systems are nearly spent. We've been seeing the distress signal for the past 2 hours.
Pushing tight on Brainiac, his voice commanding, cold, metallic, like nothing we've ever heard before.
Distress signal?
Yes, we're the first to intercept her.
Brainiac turns back to the static-marred Lone Ranger.
Establish contact.
Relieved, Kosmo punches switches and a large screen materializes in the center of the smaller screens, which continue to show the Lone Ranger, all marred by static. The screen shows the bridge of an alien ship manned by strange alien children. They have a scary-looking snake-like appearance. The children look frightened, ragged, their bridge overrun with smoke, sparks, damage. Young alien girls in the background are holding crying babies and trying to comfort them as best they can. An alien girl holding an alien rag doll stands close to the view screen.
Hello? Anyone out there? Can anyone hear us? We need help. Hello?
Brainiac extends a massive arm and presses several switches to respond. The alien girl reacts, turns to the others.
Someone responded.
A moment of excitement. An older alien boy, 15, moves to take over.
They took all the adults. A slave ship set us adrift. Life support almost gone. Who's ever out there, please help us.
Brainiac talks in their alien tongue.
I will help.
The children aboard the vessel, excited someone has responded.
Who are you?
Brainiac.
Do you have room to take us aboard? We will be no trouble.
Babies crying in the background. Brainiac's robotic fingers press an intricate array of buttons. Panels light up.
You will be no trouble.
Terror bleaches Kosmo's face as he looks at the instruments.
Brainiac, what are you doing?
Close on Brainiac, a hint of a robotic smile. Cut to, out in space, Brainiac's colossal spaceship floats, and a small beam spikes out from the ship. On the Vargon transport ship in space, the beam strikes it. The ship explodes violently. Millions of fragments drift off into the void of space. A charred and frozen lizard-like ragdoll floats past camera. Back inside Brainiac's spaceship, the static is gone. The Lone Ranger comes in clearly now.
Betty.
Kosmo, looking with shock and sadness at his monitor, sees the floating debris of the ship.
The babies. The children.
Kosmo turns away, sickened. He hastily leaves the bridge.
We forgot to thank him, Pa. We didn't even find out his name. Son, that was the Lone Ranger.
On Brainiac's ship, pulling away from us.
Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
Cut to a dramatic flying POV. We are the eyes of our Superman, moving swiftly through the canyons of skyscrapers high above the streets of Metropolis. The POV looks right, left, scanning the city streets below. A steady whoosh is heard. Then we swoop down, skimming just inches from the side of the buildings. It is an incredible sight. Exterior Metropolis City sidewalk day. People are moving, it's crowded, bustling, car horns. A cab pulls up and stops. An elderly lady with a sprightly walk gets out, carrying her purse. She's holding a piece of paper, a little confused. She leans in and pays the cabbie.
Thank you, sir. Could you tell me if Fifth Street is north or...
The cab is already gone. The elderly lady shrugs and is jostled by the dozens of pedestrians moving to and fro. She looks up at the massive skyscrapers, obviously a fish out of water. She doesn't notice a beat-up convertible pulling up. 2 punks inside. One leaks out, grabs the lady's purse.
Oh, no, you don't.
No one stops to help. Everyone just moves about their business. The punk rips the purse away, shoving her to the pavement.
Help! Someone help me!
The flying POV is zooming towards the roof of the Daily Planet building when we hear the amplified cries of the elderly woman. Abruptly, the POV turns and veers down towards the street. The POV becomes supervision and magnifies the scene of the punk with the purse, jumping into the convertible. The driver punk guns the car and takes off.
Stop them! Somebody stop them!
The flying POV zooms in on the dazed elderly lady sprawled on the sidewalk, then lands directly in front of her. People on the sidewalk look, react breathless, awestruck. They crowd around staring at our POV.
Look, it's him. I can't believe it's Superman.
Mommy, it's Superman.
The elderly lady looks up and smiles with relief.
Are you all right, ma'am?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
A blue-sleeved, muscular arm reaches into Brain and gently helps her to her feet.
You're sure? They didn't hurt me.
Of course I'm sure. But they took my purse.
I'll be right back.
You be careful, Superman.
I always am.
Careful you don't hurt them.
Yes, ma'am.
A whoosh as our POV rapidly pulls up, leaving the elderly lady and others in the crowd looking up at us from below. The convertible speeds along. The punk greedily rifles through the purse for cash. The flying POV zooms down the street and overtakes the flying car from the rear. Fleeing car from the rear. Closer, until we fly right over the car and drop down in front of it. Dramatic on a pair of red boots as they drop into frame, the flowing red cape rustling in the breeze. The convertible screeches to a stop in front of the magnificent Superman. And this is the first time we lay eyes on the Man of Steel, dramatically standing in the middle of the street, hands on his hips, powerful, strong, purposeful, silent for a long beat.
Ah, geez, not this guy. I hate this guy.
The driver punk slams the car into reverse and attempts to back away. Superman reaches out, grabs the hood of the car. Close on his fingers as like steel pins, they plunge into the metal of the hood, holding the car in place. Rear wheels burn rubber. The car goes nowhere.
You were speeding.
Cut to, on the street, day. Passers-by are stopping and looking up, pointing. They can't believe what they're seeing.
Look, up in the sky.
What is it?
I forgot it's a car, I think. I think it's a flying car.
Damn those Japanese cars.
On the flying convertible day, Superman is sitting in the driver's seat, his boots stuck through the floorboard of the car, both ankles firmly wedged against the metal frame of the chassis. Wherever Superman goes, the car goes. His hands grip the steering wheel. The punks frantically grab their seats, wide-eyed as the convertible climbs into the air at a steep angle.
You guys are buckled up, aren't you?
The car levels out 500 feet above the city streets. He flips the turn signal, banks the car violently, taking the car through an 80-mile-per-hour hairpin turn around the corner of a skyscraper. Our POV heading right for a building, then tilting straight up, streaking up the length of the building and over the top like a wild roller coaster ride. The flying convertible continues through the canyons of Metropolis at breakneck speed. A flock of pigeons flies leisurely between skyscrapers, directly in Superman's path. The convertible comes to an instantaneous, gut-wrenching stop. The punks are almost ripped out of their seats.
I brake for pigeons.
And the convertible is off again, fast as a bullet.
I think your steering is shot.
It's okay, man. Really, it's okay.
Let's find out.
Superman banks the convertible into another turn, and now it's heading towards a mammoth skyscraper under construction. Superman speeds up on a collision course. The punks freak. No. A foreman on a 53rd story girder looks out in shock. The flying convertible is speeding directly towards his building. He crosses his chest in silent prayer. Construction workers scramble and duck for cover.
Please, Superman!
Superman banks the car on a 45-degree tilt at the last possible second, creating just enough space in a girder shaft for the vehicle to pass through the center of the skyscraper skeleton. Only inches to spare above and below. Girders blur past the speeding car at a dizzying rate. The punks scream. The convertible emerges from the opposite side of the building, not a scratch. Superman accidentally rips the steering wheel from its column.
What did I tell you? Shaft.
Before the terrified punks can catch their breath, their stomachs up in their throats as the convertible suddenly veers upward, straight up like a rocket, up and away!
Oh, God.
Why it happened? Hallowed be thy name!
A traffic copter, a pilot and co-pilot look down on the ribbons of bumper-to-bumper cars and the network of freeways far below.
An overturned tractor trailer is causing Kenna delays on the southbound MQE, while northbound there's,
The flying convertible suddenly crosses their path as its right turn signal flashes.
There's a Chrysler convertible leveling off at 1,000. What?
The convertible veers off to the right in a wide arc. The convertible comes to a stop, hovering stationary 1,000 feet above the city. The punks look like they've been steam ironed in hell. They whimper quietly.
I gotta be blunt, guys. This vehicle is an accident waiting to happen. A menace to public safety.
We're sorry, Superman. We're sorry we took the lady's purse.
The driver punk is sobbing as he hands the purse to Superman.
Yeah, and we'd like to take it back to her and apologize. And we promise to fix everything on the car right away.
Sorry, guys. Too late for that. There's only one place for this piece of junk.
The convertible suddenly plummets down like a rock. Superman stays hovering casually in midair.
The junkyard.
The car becomes the size of a matchbox toy as it plunges. The punk's POV, a deserted auto junkyard, looms up like a bullseye on the ground directly below. They scream, held captive by their seatbelts. Superman flies downward in pursuit of the falling car. Exterior auto junkyard day, quiet, deserted. The calm shattered as the convertible crashes nose first into the middle of the yard at 100 miles an hour, demolishing itself with tremendous force. Exterior sky. Superman flies through the air, holding the terrified, whimpering punks by their collars. They are jello now.
Oh, and one more thing before I turn you in. Never, ever, under any circumstances, attack a senior citizen ever again.
As Superman flies past us,
I really hate that.
cut to the Brainiac ship in outer space, slings shooting across the cosmos. Inside the ship bridge, Brainiac sits imperiously in his command chair, facing the multi-screens, excerpts of TV series and classic films that have been broadcast over the past 40 years. All screens show Chuck Connors of The Rifleman. Cosmo stands by, docile, obedient.
They are unique, unlike any species I have ever studied.
All screens flash Sean Connery as James Bond.
But the transmissions are just illusion. All the scenarios simulated. They spend endless hours watching these mindless fantasies come to light.
Then Johnny Westmuller as Tarzan swings from a vine.
They call it entertainment.
Entertainment.
Lee Majors as the Fall Guy.
Vastly inferior beings. They fall very short of your usual criteria.
They intrigue me. There's something about their culture that causes me to ponder.
The A-Team van crashing through a wall.
The human race will make an excellent addition to my collection. The decision is final.
Sylvester Stallone as Rocky.
Yes.
Cosmo moves off as Brainiac turns back to the screens. Charlie Chaplin doing a classic bit. Cut to a flying VOV coming in for a landing in an alley. In a blur, we move out from the alley, our POV heading through the crowded sidewalk on Martha Kent, standing in front of a small bathing suit shop, reacting to the mannequins and their skimpy G-string bathing suits. She turns and looks at someone approaching.
I had a feeling you'd get that back from me.
Her purse moves into shot being held by Clark Kent, adjusting his tie. He kisses Martha, then reacts, embarrassed by the swimsuits, and motions his mom along.
Why didn't you tell me you were coming to Metropolis?
I wanted to surprise you.
Mom, it's your birthday. I'm the one who's supposed to surprise you.
Martha isn't listening. She's looking through her purse.
It's all there, even your 10 lottery tickets.
I'll thank you to keep those x-ray eyes to yourself, young man.
I'll walk you back to your hotel.
Oh, I'll be fine. Just run along. Can't be late for work.
We'll go for dinner tonight, someplace special.
I've already made the reservations.
Cut to inside of the Daily Planet newsroom day. A bit more high-tech since the last time he saw it. Desktop terminals, modems, etc. Reporters scurrying past, copy boys and girls, fast-paced. Camera pans over to the glass doors of the newsroom. People moving in and out, a man carrying a large box is trying to maneuver through the doors as a dark-haired woman is moving in. The box obscures our vision of her face as they do a little dance at the door, trying to pass one another. Finally, through the doors comes Lois Lane, looking pretty good. In fact, she looks great. But right now, she looks very preoccupied. Doesn't see the copy girl she bumps into.
Oh, sorry.
Lois continues to her desk, slaps down some folders, then beelines to the coffee machine, grabs the pot, looks around. A young-looking, red-haired, freckled-faced guy wearing a green bow tie enters. Guess who?
Morning, Lois.
She's so preoccupied she doesn't acknowledge Jimmy.
Where did they put the cups?
Jimmy points. There, in front of her, she grabs one, pours coffee, moves away without saying anything.
You're welcome.
Lois reaches her desk and turns on her computer. A copy boy, Howard, moves to her, nervous, anxious to please.
How you doing, Miss Lane? Here are those UPI updates you asked for.
He sets them down, knocking her coffee cup over.
Oh, great, Howard, great. All over my Pentagon store.
I'm sorry, Miss Lane.
Could you just get me some paper towels? It's dripping off the table here.
Yeah, sure, Miss Lane. Right away.
Jimmy enters.
Lois, don't you usually take cream with that?
Lois doesn't appreciate the joke using blank paper to absorb the spill.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy. Just stand there and watch. I'll wipe up this sill.
The copy boy returns with paper towels, trying to help. Lois grabs the towels.
I can do it.
Howard shrugs, exchanging a look with Jimmy.
Just get these down to the editorial right away and don't knock over any more of my coffee cups, okay?
Howard leaves.
You gotta watch Howard. The satanic cult he belongs to has a thing about Penelope.
I'm not in the mood for jokes, okay?
Hey, I understand. Little PMS, no big deal.
That's it. She's had it. She lunges past her desk and grabs Jimmy by the collar.
Jimmy Olsen, get back here. Oh, I hate that. You know I hate that. Oh, women hate that. Besides, not for another 2 weeks, okay, Mr. Smartass?
Hey, slow down. Just joking. No one needs to.
Olsen! Get in here now!
Gotta go. He's gone. Lois fumes, frustrated, mad at something. She goes back to her desk, knocks her coffee cup over, just stares as the coffee drips off her desk. Cut to a stack of 2 boxes being held by someone we don't see.
I don't mean to bug you or anything, Lois, but you know my mom doesn't come to Metropolis that often.
Lois continues to clean her desk.
Clark, just put those down over there. Look, Clark, I would like to. It's just I've got so many things to do this weekend.
Clark sets the boxes down, then leans his elbow on a filing cabinet, accidentally switching on a fan. It swivels and blows a stream of air at a stack of papers. The papers begin to scatter away. Clark uses his suction breath and, quick as a wink, sucks the paper back into their stack. Shuts the fan off.
Lois, it's almost lunchtime. You want to grab a dog or something? A working girl's got to eat.
Clark, I'm just too jammed up here.
She grabs her purse and is heading out the door.
Thanks for your understanding.
The camera moves in on Clark, silent, for a long beat, and then...
I'm gonna miss her too.
Wire shot, Perry has moved up behind Clark, puffing his cigar.
Sir?
I can't believe she's leaving.
Well, Perry, it is her lunch hour.
Harry looks at Clark confused.
She didn't tell you. She's starting a new job Monday at the LA Times. Today is her last day.
Those words punch into Clark as we cut to close up on a baby drone tumbling into shot, skidding along the floor, a shower of sparks as it smashes against the wall. The baby drone squeals, then whimpers. He's dented from the impact. Hands reach into the shot, lifting the little guy up. Kosmo holds the baby drone, affectionately stroking it, looking it over.
How many times have I told you not to bother your big brother? You'll never grow up to be as big and strong if you're not careful.
The baby drone begins to purr contentedly.
That doesn't look too bad.
Kosmo moves on, holding baby drone, followed by 2 larger drones. He moves into the robotics lab of Brainiac's ship. Behind Kosmo, several viewer screens are playing a cross-section of TV and movie excerpts, including one scene featuring President Reagan and Nancy Reagan, a giant American flag behind them. All the soundtracks play at once in an annoying jumble. Kosmo opens a toolbox and goes to work on the baby drum.
You'd think the only 12th level machine in the universe would be capable of finding less destructive outlets of expression.
Kosmo adjusts some wires on the baby drone, who squeals.
But then we are talking about a machine that enjoys watching television.
Kosmo glances up at a screen, the one showing the Reagans, and then Superman dramatically landing next to them. This intrigues Kosmo. He presses a button for volume.
In appreciation for your efforts in helping to save our endangered species, Superman, Nancy and I would like to present you with this award.
Applause from the crowd. It's clearly a news broadcast. Kosmo starts staring at the screen with utter fascination now. The baby drone beeps excitedly.
I'm thinking the same thing.
On behalf of all the American people, I thank you, Mr. President.
The baby drone gurgles softly.
Yes, it is true. Superman's real. He is no fantasy.
Cut to exterior apartment building morning. On a moving van, several muscle-bound movers carrying furniture out the front door. Boxes and things line the sidewalk.
But you hate the heat, Lois. All that sun in California.
2 movers carry a heavy cabinet out the apartment into the truck.
So I'll bring lots of sunblock.
Watch it, coming through.
We stay with the movers who put on the brakes as Clark steps out of the way.
Excuse me, sorry.
A little dance, and then Lois pulls Clark out of the way. Scowling, the movers continue.
It's a change, and long overdue.
I always thought you liked it, but try that.
The leg of a passing sofa slams Clark in the head, breaks off.
Sorry there, bud. You okay?
Clark picks up the leg, hands it back to the mover.
I'm fine.
Clark,
Fine.
Clark, it's not the planet I need to get away from. It's him.
A mover comes by with a nightstand. Lois stops and takes out a pack of cigarettes.
You don't know what it's like to be around someone day after day.
Her eyes mist up as 2 movers pass, carrying a dresser. Lois stops them, stuffs back in a sexy bra that was hanging out.
But, Lois, Superman really cares about you. Well, I happen to know.
How could you know? Are you Superman? No, Clark, it just wasn't meant to be. Metropolis, the world, they'll always come first. It goes with the cake. Maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe it's all that crap I never believed about my biological clock. I don't know, but I have to look ahead. Monday I start a new job in a new city, and maybe, just maybe I'll meet someone new. A regular guy, someone with both feet on the ground for a change.
Clark looks at her for a beat. So many things he'd like to say, but all he does is gently take the cigarette out of her hand.
You stopped smoking years ago.
Lois looks at Clark. Strange sadness between the two.
Clark, I really got a lot to do before my clean tonight. I think I just would like to be left alone. I'll call you, okay?
Lois moves away, Clark unable to see her tears. Cut to outer space, the huge planet Saturn in its orbit. A low rumbling builds until we see Brainiac's massive ship streak out from behind one of the rings, moving directly towards camera and passing right over us, closing in on Earth. Cut to a close-up of Brainiac's face.
Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Pulled back to reveal Brainiac sitting in his command chair watching the multi-screens. Scenes from Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. Brainiac presses a button and all screens show a scene from the TV series Rat Patrol. Tanks, guns, explosions. Another button, then a comedian doing a stand-up routine on the Johnny Carson show. And a steamy love scene from Body Heat. Brainiac taking it all in, impatient, pushing more buttons, causing the screens to change scenes faster and faster. To Beverly Hillbillies, Jeopardy, Psycho, Mr. Ed, 30-something, On Golden Pond. Brainiac's robotic fingers are just a blur now. Images change faster than any human eye can follow. Terminator, Hill Street Blues, Godfather, Oprah Winfrey, Born Free, Bonanza, Tonight Show, Dynasty cartoons, Pac-Man, Bullet. Then the screens go blank. The command chair is empty. Cut to inside the engine room, a vast chamber filled from floor to ceiling by banks of mammoth-sized fusion generators. Kosmo sits on an anti-gravity chair, floating 60 feet above the floor, a human hummingbird. The arms on the chair are open toolboxes crammed with high-tech equipment. Kosmo is working on an electrical panel on a wall. 2 robot drones hover on both sides of him. Kosmo talks to his shoulder.
He's strong. Strong beyond all measure. His stamina is limitless.
Kosmo gets the panel open and we see the baby drone inside, tangled up in wires.
How many times have I told you not to crawl into dark spaces?
The baby drone makes electrical baby squeals. As Kosmo pulls him out, a short circuit jolts the baby drone. He lets out a loud squeal.
There. A little shock never hurt anyone. He fears nothing, and he's faster than a speeding photon. Impervious to mortal harm, virtually indestructible. No wonder the Earthlings idolize him. He is their protector.
The camera moves in on Kosmo, his face flushed with hope.
This Superman would have to fight Brainiac to save his city. Metropolis. The next city has to be Metropolis.
Suddenly, Brainiac's massive robotic arm crashes through the wall, and it grabs Kosmo, pulling him off his hovering chair and out into the colossal central maze located deep within the infrastructure of the gargantuan ship. 50-foot square tunnels intersect and extend for miles in all directions. Up, down, left, right. A close-up on Brainiac's monstrous boots walking up the side of a tunnel wall. The hollow clangs echo with each step. The camera tilts 90 degrees, and we realize Brainiac is using his magnetic boots to walk along a vertical tunnel wall, creating the illusion that his body is tilting horizontally.
You never told me, Kosmo.
We pull back to see Brainiac's arm hang vertically as he walks, and Kosmo helplessly dangles below the massive fist, hanging by stretching straps bound to the tunic of his uniform.
What? Told you what?
Cosmo trembles, looking down at the dwindling perspective of the miles-deep tunnel beneath him.
What it is, I left.
But you lack nothing. You have collected cities from all parts of the universe. You command the largest space vessel I've ever built. You are 12th level, the highest level of artificial intelligence to ever exist. A machine so far advanced it took 10th level machines to build you. You are perfection, Brainiac.
A strap breaks. Cosmo now tackles by one, desperate.
All this is true. But there is something I am not.
Brainiac says nothing for a long beat.
I am not alarmed.
Cosmo, startled by Brainiac's new insight.
No, you are not alive.
The lone strap stretches and unravels. Cosmo cringes.
But unlike the rest of us, you can never die.
Cosmo looks down, grimaces. Brainiac pauses.
My intelligence is no longer content to simply exist and function. I require something more now. Something like a game.
The strap stretches more.
Game? What kind of game?
The kind the Earthlings play.
Snap! Cosmo plummets! Brainiac's small retro rockets activate and he hovers to a control box, throwing a switch. The artificial gravity shuts off. Zero gravity time. Hundreds of feet below, Cosmo suddenly finds himself floating, weightless. Brainiac descends as he retros downward.
The transmission showed me, Cosmo, all the games the Earthlings have to pay. Because they are alive. Life is more than mere existence.
Brainiac hovers eye to eye with the floating Cosmo.
But life is highly overrated. It's full of sorrow and despair and uncertainty. Believe me, Brainiac, you are better off your way.
If that is so, why did the others on your planet fight? Fight until their last breath to go on living. Your mate? Why did your mate beg and plead for her life before I took it away?
Oblivious to Cosmo's emotional pain, Brainiac grabs him as fast as light.
There must be something more. More about being alive. I must find out the secret. I must live. I want to live.
There is no way to give you one, Brainiac. It is impossible.
Holding Cosmo, Brainiac retros towards the far side of the tunnel. An open corridor awaits.
For 12th level intelligence, nothing is impossible. I have found a way, but I will need you.
They land in the mouth of the corridor.
Yes, you always do.
Brainiac drops Cosmo onto the floor.
Let us begin. We have just entered Earth's solar system.
Cosmo, on his hands and knees, watches Brainiac leave, then reluctantly follows. Cut to Earth's upper atmosphere, Brainiac's huge spaceship enters the atmosphere, heading down towards the Earth. Microscopic twinkling lights of the eastern seaboard below. We cut to the Metropolis skyline, night, to establish a warm, clear summer night, the calm before the storm to end all storms. A close-up on a birthday cake with one candle on it.
It's Lois, isn't it?
Hold back to reveal Clark and his mother at an outdoor restaurant patio.
You haven't said much.
The plane's halfway to California by now.
Maybe it's best this way.
Clark realizes the candle is burning down.
Mom, you better blow out the candle.
Someone's hand touches Martha's shoulder.
After you make a wish.
Lois Lane standing at the table.
Hello, Mrs. Ken.
Lois?
Okay, Clark, no speeches. Just get it over with, tell me I'm a jerk, and then ask me to sit down.
Did you miss your flight?
No, it's parked right outside. They said they'd hold it. I'm taking the Monday morning flight. It's a better move.
I'm so glad to see you, my dear.
Martha smiles to Clark. Lois hands Martha a present.
It's not much. Now, about that wish.
Yes. Oh, before it melts.
Martha looks off in thought.
What do I wish? I wish my Jonathan was still keeping me warm at night. I don't care much for electric blankets. I wish...
Martha looks to Clark and Lois, plays the moment.
I wish. A little grandson?
Cut to exterior sky night. The black and ominous Brainiac ship glides across the night sky towards Metropolis. Interior Brainiac spaceship main bridge. Kosmo in an elaborate console. He's monitoring screens and digital readouts. Brainiac sitting at his command chair.
The target is locked. Grid analysis has commenced.
On a viewer's screen, a three-dimensional computer image of Metropolis. The skyscrapers, the streets, the terrain. The sophisticated computers are turning and rotating the image of the city from all angles. Even the underground subway and sewer systems are revealed.
Stabilization boosters primed.
Activate.
The huge spaceship hovers above the city, massive, still, silent. A large hatch underneath the ship slides open to reveal a strange, alien-looking beam apparatus. It slides out on an elaborate crane system. The apparatus turns and swivels, aiming downward, begins to glow and hum. We cut to the outdoor cafe. A low-pitched rumbling sound has begun to reverberate through the city. People look up and point. Some stand. All the stars to the west are gone, hidden from view by an indefinable black mass. The rest begin to wake out. Suddenly, a clamor of blaring horns.
My God, look at the stars are blinking out.
Lois gets up and joins the spellbound masses as they move into the streets, looking up at the sky, pointing. Martha turns to Clark.
Clark, can you tell what it is?
Clark beams his X-ray vision up into the sky. What he sees greatly alarms him.
You stay here.
Clark looks to her with concern, then is gone. Cut to the city street night. A major traffic jam, gridlock, horns blaring, people out of their cars looking up, curious, frightened. The rumble grows up in intensity. The black mass of the ship covers the city like a giant canopy. Clark Kent spots an abandoned car in the street, snaps off his glasses, and loosens his tie. He jumps inside and begins exhaling a steady stream of super breath as he rips open his shirt. The windows swiftly fog up, the sunroof slides open, and Superman flies up and out into the night sky, past the skyscrapers, heading towards the gargantuan black mass. Under the ship, Superman is dwarfed by the huge underside. He hovers in midair and pounds his fists into the hull. Instantly, a 3-foot shimmering aura of energy envelops the ship, repelling the powerful blows. Inside, the ship Brainiac and Kosmo are at their consoles.
Ready. Metropolis is
mine.
Brainiac leans forward, throws the final switch. Outside the ship, Superman is blasted by an intense bright white light, set hurling back, tumbling in midair, and knocked unconscious by the force. A spiral cone of light then descends towards the city below. The energy spiral swallows the skyline as it spins its way downward. People in the streets scatter. They panic. The energy washes over them. The malevolent rumbling growing louder. Then, an unconscious Superman tumbles onto the top of a building, crumpling an air conditioning unit out-poled. The screen goes black, and the rumble escalates in volume to a deafening pitch. We cut to the exterior of the sky night. A 747 jetliner lowers its landing gear to begin its final approach. The jetliner interior. Passengers on the left side of the plane look out their windows.
As we make our final approach to Metropolis Airport, for those of you on the left, the skyline you see is the city Superman calls home. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Passengers at the windows react in shock. Others get up from their seats in the crowd. They crowd around the windows, muttering ad-libs of shock and astonishment. A woman begins to scream. The passenger's POV, where the city of Metropolis should be. There is nothing. Just an empty crater, deep 10 miles across, giving off an ominous crimson glow, like a giant red sore on the nighttime terrain. Dissolved to exterior Metropolis city streets night, a black sky, no stars, no moon, a heavy fog. Confusion and chaos in the streets, people wandering about aimlessly. Windows are shattered, debris litters the streets and sidewalks. On a police chopper above the city, it flies right into the fog, hitting an unseen obstacle. It tumbles and rotors down, badly damaged, hitting the ground and explodes. Police vehicles and ambulances with lights and sirens are racing through the streets. Inside Daily Planet offices night, lights from emergency generators illuminate the room. People moving about quickly, trying to use phones, fax machines, computers. Someone opens a box of walkie-talkies. Piles of supplies around the offices, a makeshift emergency area. The camera pushes through the crowded newsroom, people still trying to figure out what happened. A haggard Perry White emerges from his office as a worker approaches, showing him a note.
To hell with the paperwork. Tell Wilson to get those medical supplies up here pronto. and see how Bob's crew is doing with the backup generators.
Yes, sir, Mr. White. The worker leaves as people come in carrying food, supplies, bottled water, and from behind them enters Lois and Ginny, rapidly moving through the doors.
At least you found Olsen.
It's crazy out there, Perry. 1 in the afternoon and pitch black outside. People are hysterical. Police have their hands full, and no one has any answers.
Perry chucks his spent cigar and moves to the window.
I don't get it. No flash, minimal damage to the city. It can't be the big one.
Word on the street is we may be the only city that wasn't hit.
A sudden dread overcomes him.
Where the hell is Superman? That's what I'd like to know. We need him. We need him bad.
Haven't been able to connect with She, but the city's cellular system must be knocked out.
Has anyone heard from Clark?
I have.
On Martha, moving inside the offices, worried, trying not to show it.
He called me at the hotel, told me to come down here, said he was going to try and contact Superman.
Good luck.
If there was ever a time this city needed Superman.
Cut to a micro close-up on a clear tube, water rushing through it. Another tube, dirty groundwater rushing out. Tight on a gloved hand, screwing in an electrical cable. Tight on more cables being attached to various plugs. We pulled back to reveal we are inside a strange preparation room in Brainiac's ship. Kosmo is preparing what looks like a 5-foot crystal egg. This is housing the miniaturized Metropolis. The whole city shrunk down and placed inside a transparent shell composed of alien crystal. The Daily Planet building prominent in the tiny skyline. The baby drone moves around trying to keep up with the other drones as they help Cosmo execute the delicate task of hooking up a cluster of life support tubes and wires. The city egg floats above the floor on an anti-gravity platform, a robotic jellyfish. Cosmo peers down into the city.
Yes, little one. It's all up to him now.
The baby drone squeals and gurgles, then runs in circles as Cosmo and the drones complete their intricate tasks. Cut to Metropolis skyline day. The skyscrapers of steel and glass are barely discernible as a heavy fog still hangs over the city. Exterior roof, pushed in tight on Superman sprawled atop the air conditioning unit that is buckled from the force of his fall. He starts to awaken, dazed. He gets on his feet, takes off into the air. Superman flies between the skyscrapers and into the fog, exhaling a mighty blast of super breath ahead of him. From his POV, like Moses parting the Red Sea, billows of mist blown to the left and right as Superman's breath clears the air, which reveals a crystalline wall, translucent, like frosted glass. It gives off an eerie, unearthly glow. Superman hovers in front of the wall, examining it. We pull back to see its awesome size, rising over 1,000 feet into the air and curving over the city like a canopy. There is no sky. Metropolis is completely enclosed, trapped. Superman flashes his X-ray vision at the crystalline wall. From Superman's POV, looking through the crystal, fragments of the futuristic laboratory outside. Everything truly colossal, on a scale too mammoth to imagine. A humongous Cosmo working on the city egg, his strange outfit looming before us in awesome detail. Superman reacts. We cut to a bridge over water day, sliced through the middle by the crystal wall. Cars piled up and smashing against the wall. People banging on the wall, panicked. Exterior Metropolis City, the aftermath of the disaster. The fog is gone. Cars left abandoned, traffic lights not working, men, women, and children wandering aimlessly. Police and city vehicles prowling the streets. City power trucks working on traffic lights. National Guard soldiers guarding boarded up stores from looters. Makeshift relief stations, volunteers handing out clothes and food and water. Some lost souls gathered around a religious fanatic clutching a Bible and pointing to the crystalline dome covering the sky.
Repent, sinners! Armageddon is here! The day of reckoning is at hand!
The camera pulls past the fanatic and we cut to inside an underground bunker under City Hall. Superman stands at the head of the table. The city councilwoman, a uniformed police chief, 2 mayoral aides, and a couple of other city officials sit around the table. They're clearly nervous and shaking.
You can't be serious. Come on, tell the people of Metropolis they've been shrunk down, taken hostage aboard a UFO?
The mayoral aide nervously quits his pencil on the table. He sweats a lot.
No nuclear explosions. Daylight blinds us, even though there's no sun in this sky. Night comes without a moon. We're totally cut off from the rest of the world. I, for one, believe Superman
A murmur of voices as everyone exchanges looks. The police chief moves to the bar to pour himself a drink.
Electricity came back online and nobody knows why. The sewer system went back into operation this morning with no explanation. Even our air has been purified.
Someone or something is taking care of this city.
Just how small are we supposed to be?
From what I can tell, close to microscopics.
The police chief reacts, speaking for the first time, drunk.
Riots! What about New York? LA, Gotham City! What the hell makes Metropolis so goddamn special?
The camera dramatically moves in on Superman's face, grim but strong. Cut to the exterior of a morgue in Metropolis night. A white stab of eerie light shoots down from above through the warehouse roof. Inside the morgue, it's overcrowded, bodies everywhere. The white beam passes over body after body on covered gurneys, finally stopping at one. A spear materializes around the body. It vanishes, the sheet floating down onto the now empty gurney. We cut to the inside of the laboratory on Brainiac's ship. Kosmo sits in an alien-designed portable strengthening machine, one nozzle pointing down at Metropolis City Egg, the other pointing to a silver platform where the body materializes. It's mostly in shadow, enough to reveal the corpse of a handsome, well-built man. Kosmo moves to the body, examining it, talking to his shoulder.
Right? 6 feet 2 inches, weight 181. No chronic diseases or foreign bacteria in the tissue. I hope he approves it by taste in humans.
Kosmo takes a small device from an instrument-cluttered table. Carefully, he applies it to the back of the corpse's hand. The device hisses.
One cell will provide everything we need.
Kosmo holds up the device, peers into it to verify.
May the gods of Kolu forgive us.
We cut to a close-up on Brainiac's head, staring out, emotionless, still. The camera pulls back to show we are inside Brainiac's robotics lab. Aglow with ultra-tech lighting and effects. A surreal, futuristic lab. Kosmo at a central console facing 2 anti-gravity racks that float horizontally, laying head-to-head. The robot Brainiac laying on one rack, the terminals inside its transparent skull glowing red as always. On the other rack, a metal cocoon which has a general contour of a human body. Kosmo makes last-minute adjustments on various components and hookups. Brainiac's massive arm reaches out and grabs Kosmo.
What will I sense?
Your receptors will shut down. For 0.6 of a second, you will cease to exist as your digitized intelligence flows into the living cells of your new body.
A long beat.
I will trust you, Cosmo, for 0.6 of a second.
Nervous, Kosmo nods and goes about his business. He activates the controls. Machinery and electronics hum. The awesome technology begins its work. Brainiac's transparent skull erupts with a burst of electricity. Kosmo surreptitiously reaches for a red energy rod in a main console. Sweat building, he begins to pull it out. We hear the machinery winding down. Then Kosmo realizes he can't do it. He shoves the rod back in, the machinery back to full function. Resigned, he just watches as a powerful surge of sparks shoots into the metal cocoon. Sparks multiply and dance around it, a noisy, violent electric frenzy, building to a smashing crescendo. Then, all is calm. The terminals in the robot's skull no longer glow red. The robot Brainiac is dead, but the spark of life has been passed on. Kosmo pushes more switches. A seam appears down the middle of the cocoon. It splits open. Clouds of eerie mist begin to billow out. Apprehensively, Kosmo approaches the cocoon. The new human Brainiac sits up. He is unclothed with the same facial features and muscular torso of the male morgue victim. Except he is alive. An exact duplicate. A clone. But his skin is green. He's bald. His scalp covered by a network of flat, dime-sized terminals. They glow red. Close up on Kosmo, amazed at the results, he watches in awe as Brainiac stands, looking at his new body, his arms, his fingers.
Green. I was afraid of this.
Brainiac turns and glares at Kosmo.
About the green. There was an imperfection in the revitalization process. With more time, I could alter the...
Brainiac stops Kosmo and smiles for the first time.
I like green.
Brainiac's voice is now human-sounding, but still deep and powerful. The bright stars as seen through a viewing portal.
I never noticed the stars before. So much beauty all around me, and I never knew.
Pull back to show Brainiac and Cosmo at the portal. Brainiac now wears a functional, futuristic outfit. He takes a bite out of a crescent-shaped alien fruit and chews.
You were a machine. A machine wasn't capable of appreciation, only observation.
Brainiac listens, fascinated. He chews vigorously and stuffs the rest of the fruit in his mouth.
Think of all the pleasure you can experience now. Like a breath of fresh air.
Drink to quench your thirst. Food to satisfy your Cosmo.
When is it time to swallow?
Now we'll swallow.
Brainiac swallows and then smiles with contentment. He notices his fingers are wet and sticky from the fruit. Like a child, he wipes his hand on the sleeve of his new outfit.
Not an unpleasant sensation. The wearing of garments. What a curious custom.
Brainiac's head starts to twitch involuntarily, slightly at first.
Brainiac?
And now Brainiac's body begins to twitch in convulsive spasms. He's having some kind of an attack. Shuddering, jerking, he wobbles around the room, banging into walls, unable to control his body's movements.
What is happening?
Cosmo's scared shitless as Brainiac moves to him, fighting his convulsions. He grabs Cosmo and slams him up against the wall.
What have you done? Beam me up, Daddy. Done to me, Cosmo. Hello, I'm Mr. A.
Like Tourette's syndrome, whenever Brainiac tries to speak, instead of expletives, he involuntarily spits out lines from television and movies.
Calm down. This is just a temporary glitch.
Fasten your seatbelts. We're in for a bumpy night.
Cosmos hurtle across the lab like a ragdoll.
Bam! Zoom to the moon, Alice.
Dazed, Cosmo climbs to his feet, brushing himself off.
The human corpse we cloned for your new shell, his brain cells were replaced with your digitized 12th level intelligence.
Brainiac lunges at Cosmo again. Cosmo sidesteps, runs, and ducks under a metal lab table.
Sock it to me. Sock it to me.
Brainiac grabs the tool and with one savage blow cleaves the metal table in half. Cosmo barely scrambles out in time.
But implanting you with emotions was far more difficult. I had to use your transmissions.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
I digitally sampled thousands of them.
Brainiac roars with rage as he tries to control his outbursts. He grabs some heavy hardware, throwing it at Cosmo, who barely dodges in time.
I collected every possible human emotion.
I know you are, but what am I?
Cosmo makes a mad dash for the door, but Brainiac's faster. He intercepts.
Book 'em, Dano. Trust me. Your programs will correct themselves.
Brainiac hoists Cosmo up by the collar, walks over to a disposal chute. Brainiac flips a switch, and a hatch opens to reveal a wicked-looking disintegration field.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck, Jim.
Brainiac holds Cosmo in front of the hatch, about to throw him in.
Please, trust me.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give up.
Brainiac starts to slow down. His twitching is subsiding. He seems to be in control again.
And away we go.
Brainiac pulls Cosmo away from the open chute, close it, drops Cosmo to the floor, and turns and walks out of the lab, calming down.
Bond. James Bond.
Cosmo rubs his sore neck and breathes a sigh of relief as we cut to the interior of Brainiac's teleportation chamber. The human Brainiac stands on the silver platform. A high-tech thick belt has been added to his outfit. Cosmo sits in the portable shrinking ray. An appendage of the device is aimed at the shrunken Metropolis.
The belt will self-activate if, as I specify?
Yes. As long as you wear it, no one can come to you.
Cosmo revs up the shrinking ray. It hums and whines. Brainiac smiles with anticipation.
I will be able to experience every emotion.
Yes, you should.
Will I be able to experience the emotion they call
love? You'll need a woman.
A woman?
He likes the way that sounds.
Transmit.
Cosmo pushes switches. A white sphere materializes around Brainiac, and he vanishes from the platform. We move in on a grim Cosmo.
Oh, Lou be with you, Superman.
Cut to a close-up on the religious fanatic knight, grungy, hyper.
Can't you see, people? Open your eyes. This is the work of Satan.
The camera pulls back to show we are on a Metropolis city street.
His evil is all around us. It's everywhere. He's all around us.
Behind him, a pulsating energy sphere floats down from above and lands in the middle of the street. The sphere glows brighter, 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 until it suddenly disappears and leaves Brainiac standing in the street. People look. They stop, point, and gasp. Some run.
We're all going to burn in hell!
As you wish.
A thin white beam emits from one of Brainiac's electrodes on his scalp, striking the fanatic, consuming him in a violent surge of flame. It shoots up 50 feet, a burning geyser. The crowd panics, screams, some run. A police car screeches up, a uniformed cop jumps out, service revolver drawn.
Freeze! This is the Metropolitan Police. Put your hands in the air.
Brainiac comes for him. The cop empties his gun. Wham, bam, bam, bam! The force field activates around Brainiac, repelling the bullets, which spit back into the cop, striking him in rapid succession. He drops to the ground, dead. We cut to a Daily Planet car, logo on the far door. Lois behind the wheel, Jimmy taking pictures. She stops the car for a better look.
See anything?
You wouldn't believe it.
She leaves the car, starts to make her way forward against the flow of the crowd. Jimmy gets out, gathering his camera equipment, and follows. Brainiac faces the dispersing crowd. No force field now.
Why do you run? There's nowhere to hide.
On Lois and Jimmy, standing amidst the onlookers watching.
Oh my God. Look at him, Jimmy. He's extraterrestrial.
Jimmy grabs her arm.
Lois, think about this.
A story's a story. Somebody's gotta do it.
She makes her way through the remaining crowd to Brainiac.
Excuse me.
Who are you?
I'm Lois Lane from the Daily Planet.
A planet I am not familiar with.
Lois takes a deep breath. No going back.
It's a newspaper. I'm a reporter.
Why aren't you running? Aren't you afraid?
Scared out of my wits. But I do these things anyway. A problem I've always had. I'd like to ask you some questions.
Jimmy pulls back his sleeve to reveal his odd-looking watch as he presses the button. We hear the high-pitched cellular signal.
Come on, Superman.
Cut to Superman hovering in the air, helping a city work crew erect a transformer that had fallen. His super hearing picks up the signal. He shrieks off, and we cut back to Brainiac and Lois as she stands her ground.
You appear to be a fully functioning female.
Right. With a sorry.
No, he begins to circle Lois, looking her up and down.
Right, with a good left, so keep your distance.
You are attracted by Earth standards, yes?
Attractive? For your information, there's a picture of me in the dictionary next to the word babe. So, can we get back on track here? Who are you? What did you do with our city, and where do you come from?
You will be the one, Lois Lane. I got you, babe.
Brainiac reaches out to touch her hair.
Okay, just hold it right there, mister. What kind of girl do you think I am?
Impetuous, spirited, highly intelligent. I think I like you, Lois.
Oh, shit.
Brainiac takes a step back. One of the electrodes on his green scalp lights up. A white beam of light shoots down, forming an energy cone around her. Lois is trapped, pounds to get out, screams he cannot hear. A dramatic on Superman, anguish as he lands to see Lois trapped. Then the light cone vanishes, taking Lois with it. Her clothes float down to the ground in a pile. Skirt, shoes, blouse, bra, panties, big panties. Superman looks to Brainiac, back to Lois's clothes, and back to Brainiac again, rage building.
What did you do with Lois Lane?
Brainiac is fascinated by the Man of Steel.
A man who flies. You're not a character of fiction. You're real.
He approaches to have a closer look.
This is an honor, Superman. A genuine honor. I am Brainiac.
Superman takes a step forward, angry. Brainiac remains calm.
What did you do with her?
The female is no longer your concern.
Everyone in this city is my concern.
Spoken like a true hero.
Why did you take Metropolis?
Brainiac slowly circles Superman, still intrigued.
You really have powers and abilities far beyond mortal men?
Suddenly, a white beam shoots out from Brainiac's scalp, engulfing Superman in a violent surge of flame. When the smoke clears, Superman remains standing unscathed.
Just checking.
Superman advances angrily.
I won Lois, Brainiac, no more games.
The game has just begun.
Superman grabs Brainiac by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Brainiac gurgles, squirms in Superman's grip. Even as he's choking, though, Brainiac manages a smile.
Go ahead, make my day.
His force field flashes on and repels Superman, sprawling him onto the ground, dazed.
I'm impressed. My force field is usually fatal to the touch.
Superman gets up, grim, resolved. Police begin to arrive, taking up positions, keeping the crowd back.
You don't admit defeat easily.
Superman throws a sudden right cross. The force of the blow turns Brainiac's head to one side, but he remains unscathed, his hands on hips, as if mocking Superman's favorite pose.
I like that in an opponent.
Superman punches again. Strike two! Superman pummels him with a dizzying barrage of blurred, multiple fists. A super speed onslaught of blows. The force field holds, and Brainiac laughs. Then lets loose with a powerful backswipe that sends Superman hurtling into a parked car, caving it in. Dazed the second time, Superman pulls himself up, lifts the patrol car over his head.
And strength. Such amazing strength.
Superman heaves the car. Brainiac sees the hurtling car as it strikes him and bounces off his force field, flipping end over end in spectacular fashion, shearing off a fire hydrant. Water gushes high into the air. People scatter. The water continues to rain down as Superman aims a blast of super freeze breath at the 20-foot geyser of water, freezing it into an ice sculpture.
Put back my city.
Not your city anymore.
Superman shoots a blast of super heat vision. The beams of heat vision reflect off Brainiac's force field, ricocheting towards the overturned police car, and it explodes into a fireball. Superman shields some bystanders with his cape. More police's SWAT teams show up, taking battle positions, watching intently.
Everyone stay back. Clear, keep clear. Get behind the police lines.
More police push the crowd back as Brainiac moves into the middle of the street. He looks up at the giant steel globe atop the Daily Planet building.
This town's not big enough for the two of us. Not anymore.
Brainiac takes aim with the electrodes on his head. They emit a yellow energy beam this time that strikes the huge steel Daily Planet globe. The beam slices through the steel girders, holding it to the roof. It teeters for a beat. We hear metal wrench. Then snap! The globe falls off the building towards the crowd on the street below. Superman shoots Brainiac a look.
What can I say? I'm green.
Superman quickly takes off into the air and catches the 20-ton globe, reminding us of Atlas as he hovers in midair, holding the metal planet on his shoulders.
A toy planet you can save, but not your city. You're mad as hell, and you're not going to take it anymore.
The mocking makes Superman more determined. He thrusts one arm into the globe up to the elbow, then using it like a giant bowling ball, Superman swings his arm, hurtling the globe of steel down the center of the street. The metal globe, the size of a small house, rolls and bounces, gaining speed and momentum as if 20 tons of mass barrels its way down the street. It crushes a parked car, continuing on towards Brainiac as he stands his ground, laughing. The Daily Planet globe strikes him dead on. It explodes and shatters. Metal shards and fragments fall, ricochet and scatter all over the street.
I'll take that as a yes.
In the wake of the wreckage, there is no sign of Superman. Brainiac looks around, disappointed.
Don't quit now, Superman. I'm just starting to enjoy the game.
Suddenly, Superman flies back onto the scene, carrying a 30-foot steel girder with him. Hovering over Brainiac, Superman wields the girder like a giant bat and pounds Brainiac's head.
That's more like it.
Like a human pile driver, Superman pounds Brainiac into the asphalt like a human nail, up to his knees, then his waist, his chest. Finally, he's in up to his neck.
Now what?
Superman is livid, uses his heat vision to eke out a circular swath around Brainiac's embedded head. Then he digs his hands down and lifts out the large chunk of asphalt and concrete with Brainiac still embedded inside.
Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Superman lifts the concrete mass over his head with a primal scream of rage and frustration, and he throws it. The mass sails through, smashing against the side of an abandoned building. It explodes, spewing out Brainiac amid the chunks of concrete and asphalt. And Brainiac makes a graceful landing, unscathed. Brainiac aims his head, emitting a powerful yellow energy beam.
Now, my turn.
The beam strikes Superman square in the chest. Superman doesn't flinch.
Is that the best you can do?
The crowd on the sidelines applaud. They cheer. Perry White joins Jimmy, who's in the crowd.
You tell him, Superman. Give it to that bastard.
Brainiac, momentarily surprised by Superman's resistance to his attack. The electrodes on Brainiac's skull flash in rapid sequential pattern. A surge of white energy shoots down from the ceiling of the crystalline shell into the electrodes on Brainiac's scalp. Fortified with new energy, the yellow beam shooting from his head turns orange. It becomes more powerful. Superman grabs his chest, dropping to his knees, feeling unbearable pain. Jimmy and Perry watch crestfallen.
Come on. Come on.
People on the street scatter and run for cover. Superman reaches out with one hand, attempt to deflect the oncoming beam with his palm. Brainiac walks up the street, bombarding Superman with the orange ray. The entity from above tracks with Brainiac as he walks. Brainiac's amazed, perhaps a little frightened. He can't believe Superman is still resisting. We cut to the engine room on Brainiac's ship, housing the bands of mammoth fusion generators. They throb and hum. Brainiac is putting a tremendous strain on the power system of his vast ship. Interior corridor of the ship, the alarms are blasting as Kosmo runs, panicked and terrified by the lights and power draining throughout the ship. The 3 drones follow. Cut back to Metropolis. The lights here dim, then street lights explode in rapid succession. Brainiac moves closer to Superman. The energy barrage still shooting out from his head. The beam has gone from orange to purple, 10 times more potent. Superman's curled up on the ground in a fetal position, still alive and intact, despite the incalculable destructive force being unleashed on him.
You play this game well, but I play better.
And then the purple beam striking Superman suddenly erupts with a brilliant, almost beautiful burst of multicolored light, and a final burst of pure energy thunders into Superman. An incredible, devastating explosion lights up the sky. It shakes the city. Dirt and rocks rain down, and as the smoke settles, we see a shallow, charred crater, smoking, glowing red hot. The majestic cape of Superman laying over his crumpled, empty costume. Nothing else. Brainiac breathing heavy, his first time experiencing a rush of pure emotion. The thrill of the kill. The crowd is dumbstruck, in shock, unable to speak. Total silence. Staring in disbelief, the police try and keep them back. Brainiac moves to the crater and picks up the cape and crumpled costume, holding it up for all to see. Superman's cape majestically billows in the wind, dramatically backlit by the city lights.
I won.
He laughs. His electrodes glow and crackle. A white beam of light shoots down and engulfs Brainiac. A beat, and the energy cone vanishes. Brainiac is gone. Jimmy and Perry move past the police to the crater. Others move in, even police officers, and more people crowd around, many not totally comprehending their beloved superhero is no more. Jimmy turns to Perry, tears in his eyes. Nothing can be said as the camera pulls up, and away as we fade out. We fade in on the S emblem of the empty Superman uniform.
Superman is dead, Cosmo. He was no fantasy.
Pull back to reveal we are in the robotics laboratory of Brainiac holding the costume, and he flings it at Kosmo.
You set a trap. You knew Superman was real. You knew he would fight me to defend Metropolis.
I didn't, Brainiac. I swear I didn't.
Brainiac stares at Cosmo for a long beat.
You're lying, Cosmo. This is the second time I've caught you. After I decimated our plant and destroyed your race, that was the first time you deceived.
I don't know what you mean.
The improvement in your job efficiency back then was no coincidence. Your little friends were having the beneficial effect. It was logical to ignore them. But I don't have to be logical anymore.
Brainiac's hand rips away the bulky epaulet from Cosmo's right shoulder.
How many, Cosmo? How many did you manage to save from the shrinking experiments?
Cosmo freaks, too panicked to speak. A close-up on the epaulet. Brainiac's hand tears off the top layer, the roof over a tiny secret hideaway, complete with tiny furniture that was home to 3 minuscule aliens from Cosmo's city. 2 males and a female. The tiny beings cringe and huddle.
1, 2, 3. How touchy. Brainiac, please.
Brainiac dumps the tiny aliens on the silver platform under the shrinking ray.
Now that I'm alive, I understand the need for human companionship. You want friends, Cosmo. And I'll give you friends.
Brainiac activates the shrinking ray.
Friends your own size.
No, you mustn't. The man too many cycles under the shrinking ray.
Brainiac hits the enlargement switch. A beam strikes the 3 tiny beings.
They will never survive under enlargement.
The 3 beings start to enlarge to the silver platform, but something is horribly wrong. As they grow, they become horribly mutated. their organs and entrails forming on the outside of their bodies, slimy, gunky, pulsating masses of tissue, deformed mouths that scream in agony as they writhe and squirm. And then silence. Brainiac smiles as he watches their death throes, Kosmo dropping to his knees in front of them.
I love them. You feel I love them. Sister, I am so sorry.
I thought love meant never having to say you're sorry.
Brainiac leaves, and Kosmo bows his head and begins sobbing. The baby drone wheels in and snuggles up to Kosmo, making sad squeals. We cut to the exterior of Brainiac's ship moving through space, and then cut to Lois Lane waking up on silk sheets in a lavish four-poster bed. She feels like a hangover, looks around to see that she's in a sumptuous bedroom suite. It's almost palatial, richly appointed, like something out of a James Bond movie. Floor to ceiling, velvet drapes hang along one wall. A door opens, and in comes Kosmo, his right epaulette remaining ripped, a grim reminder. Kosmo followed by a drone carrying a set of clothes. Lois bunches the sheets around her. She's naked. He doesn't stutter with Lois.
I hope the room is to your liking.
Metropolis, something happened, I'm not sure.
Lois remains in a daze, shaking her head.
Your mind will clear soon. Sometimes memory haze is common with post-enlargement trauma.
Post-enlargement? Who are you?
Kosmo,
My clothes.
you've grown out of them. You're not in Metropolis anymore.
Kosmo points as the drone gives the clothes to Lois. Sexy, skin-tight outfit. Kosmo turns his back to her. The drone turns around too.
They'll fit. You are measured.
Lois, dressed now, gets out of bed.
What am I doing here, and where is this place?
You are aboard my ship.
Brainiac enters, tall, imposing. Lois recognizes him, her memory returning.
You. Now I remember. You're that green goon, the one who attacked our city.
As she rants, Brainiac moves to the drapes.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, I don't like you losing my clothes and waking up and... I don't like losing my clothes and waking up in strange beds. Second, if you have any ideas about me, you can forget it. Third, you had better get...
Lois stops when she sees the drapes open, revealing an awesome outer space panorama. In the center, far, far away, is the gleaming emerald orb of Earth. Lois walks over, gaping. The spectacular sight overwhelms her.
Your ship. The spaceship.
Brainiac just stares at her.
You kidnapped me. Now you're in for it, Buster. I have this friend with a red cape. He's real attached to me. When he gets wind of this, he'll come after you and wipe this ship up with you.
Brainiac turns to Kosmo.
Kosmo, how long?
Kosmo consults a small instrument and stutters again.
7.5 seconds.
I was hoping you wouldn't have to watch this, but I can see no alternative. Prepare yourself.
Prepare myself? Listen, if anyone needs to be prepared, it's...
Lois's eyes widen in confusion and disbelief. An icy comet the size of a small moon has begun to arc its way across the panorama on a collision course with Earth. The comet collides with Earth, incalculable force, and Earth explodes, spewing fragments out into space. Lois stares out, speechless. Brainiac gently steadies her as the shockwave causes the ship to shudder.
I computed the comet's trajectory some time ago. I knew the collision was coming, but there was nothing I could do to stop it.
Lois, still unable to speak, tears forming. She's in shock.
Please come with me, Lois.
Kosmo watches them go as we cut to inside the Chamber of Cities. Brainiac and Lois enter this huge chamber. Lois reacts to the incredible sight of row after row of floating crystalline city eggs, each hooked up to a separate tangle of life support tubes. Over each city is a glowing orb acting as an artificial sun that emits a cone of light. Different colors, purple, green, orange, blue, yellow, red. The sight is breathtaking, magnificent. Lois slowly ventures ahead, spellbound, awestruck. Panning along the crystal eggs, each city is completely different, each from a different planet. One an underwater city of coral spires, a treehouse city nestled in a jungle-infested egg, A silicon city, a geometric oasis, and a desert egg. Another holds a primitive rock city. And then we stop to pan at the Metropolis City Egg, a toy-sized Daily Planet building rising up from the tiny skyline of the shrunken Metropolis. The camera dollies with Lois as she approaches the city in stunned fascination. She peers down.
Metropolis. Oh, dear God, so tiny.
Exhilarating, isn't it?
Brainiac moves closer.
Everywhere you look, life. A rich and fertile abundance of life.
What the hell have you done here? These are cities. You collect cities.
Brainiac goes right past her.
From all parts of the universe. My crystal eggs simulate the exact conditions found on their planets before they met their doom.
You mean all of these planets gone?
If I had not taken the cities, these species would not exist. They would now be extinct. My quest is to return every race to its full size. Find a new planet for each and every one.
Lois, still fascinated, peering down into Metropolis.
The biggest story of my life, and no one to tell it to. What's going on down there? Something's happening.
Let's have a look.
A drone moves into shot and extends a high-tech magnifying glass appendage. Brainiac peers into Metropolis, adjusts it slightly, and motions for Lois to have a look.
A procession of some kind.
Lewis's POV through the magnifier, panning over a long funeral procession on Fifth Avenue. Throngs of people lined up on both sides of the street as we pan over a section of the crowd where we see a grim Perry and Jimmy.
There's Perry and Jimmy. I think it's a funeral or something.
Panning over to the head of the procession, a horse-drawn carriage carrying a coffin, on which an S emblem has been painted. Lois looks up from the magnifier in stunned disbelief.
Oh my God. It's Superman. Superman's funeral.
Tears welling up in her eyes.
Oh, how could it be?
Yes, most unfortunate. The super being tried to break through. It killed him.
Lois loses it and begins to cry, burying her head into Brainiac's chest.
A true hero. I think I might have liked him.
Oh, Superman. To the end, you just and quit.
Was he someone you knew?
He was someone I loved.
Brainiac reaches out and touches her hair.
Like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind.
Lois breaks away and runs out of the chamber just as Kosmo enters.
I take it she found out about Superman.
She will require sedation. Fascinating. I killed the one she loved, Cosmo.
The camera moves in on Brainiac's smug look as we cut to Metropolis 5th Avenue Day. The funeral procession advances down the street. Crowds of people lined up along the route watching, sad, solemn. At a section of the crowd from the back, we see Martha Kent wandering past the onlookers, her hair unkempt, clothes disheveled, a blank look in her eyes. She stops at a teenager wearing a baseball cap and jersey.
Oh, how my son loved baseball. He could hit that ball a mile, you know?
The boy shrugs it off as Martha continues moving through the crowd to reach the front. She turns to address a woman who's dabbing her eyes with tissue.
It was the truck. That's when Jonathan and I knew our little Clark was something special. The day he lifted that truck.
Martha moves to a police officer who stands at the curb.
He was big and strong, like you, and oh, so handsome.
In her delirium, Martha steps off the curb, heading into the street. The cop gently takes her arm, stopping her.
Sorry, ma'am. You have to stay on the curb.
But he's my son. I just want to be with my son.
The cop nods, but makes it clear she has to stay on the curb as the horse-drawn coffin moves past, and we push in on the S emblem painted on the coffin. We then fade to black. Silence. And something strange begins to happen. Our POV, a sudden burst of spectral white light explodes out of the darkness to fill the screen. We're whisked forward through a winding cosmic tunnel that suggests some sort of supernatural afterlife journey. Then we hear voices. We see luminescent images of faces. We see Jarrell.
We will not lead you even in the face of our death.
We see the face of Lara,
You must live as a mortal. You must become one of them.
then Pa Ken.
One thing I do know, son. You are here for a reason.
And now we're flying through an incredible sight of color and sound, faster and faster, and then a blinding light fades to reveal 3 silhouettes that become 2 male Kryptonians and a female. They're scientists. They're looking straight down at us, examining us with strange instruments. Then, very faint at first, we hear a heartbeat, gradually becoming stronger, louder.
He's breathing again. His pulse is growing stronger.
We shouldn't have pulled him out so quickly.
Another cruel sec. It would have been too late to provide it.
Will he ever be the same?
The female scientist leans forward, peering at us with a strange glowing probe device, and reads the indicators.
At least he's alive. And he's home. Kal-El is finally home.
Cut to interior council chamber. An immense vid screen is replaying Superman's fight with Brainiac in a strange, unearthly kind of semi-slow motion.
Your recommendation contains an element of risk, Volnu. Ours does not.
Permanent quarantine is inhumane. Why did we pull him out?
The camera pulls back to show the female Kryptonian scientist Volnu sitting at one of the ends of a large triangular table across from 2 council elders, and Rodro. The fight continues, replaying behind them.
To save his life. He is a Kryptonian.
And the son of Jor-El. He deserves better.
Our concern is for the safety of Kandor. He is an enemy of Brainiac.
If Brainiac ever discovered Superman was here.
We have technology that enables us to record every event that transpires outside our shell. We always know when Brainiac is watching.
Volnu stands to finish her impassioned plea.
And what threat is Superman to Brainiac now? Under Kandor's red sun and gravity, he's mortal, has no powers. He's trapped here like the rest of us until the day he dies.
On the vid screen, Brainiac's spinal beam barrage fatally zapping Superman, leaving only his costume behind.
Kandor offers him a second chance. A chance for a new life. Does anyone, even the High Council, have the right to deprive a Kryptonian of his birthright?
And Rador look at each other gravely. We smash cut to the exterior of a Kandorian skyscraper day, a stark and futuristic spire.
In 2 years, we have the right to present your case again.
Interior, Kal-El's apartment day. Futuristic, high-tech, cold but functional. Strange furniture, exotic alien plants, unusual lighting. The outside wall is all glass overlooking the Kandor skyline, but is crisscrossed by a network of energy bars. A similar network of energy bars blanket the main door. A giant image of Volnu's face appears on a 6-foot view screen.
Perhaps by then the Council will...
2 years?
Superman faces the screen, wearing white Kandorian garb with a black L insignia on the chest. A beard is beginning to grow. His eyes are cold, his voice embittered. A hollow shell of the Superman we thought we knew.
I know how you must feel.
How it feels? To die on your knees in defeat? No, you've let down all the people who ever counted on you.
You gave your life to them.
I
No one could do more.
I failed them. All my powers weren't enough to stop Brainiac. Now I'm just a shadow of what I once was. No good to anyone. Anywhere.
Don't, Kal-El. That kind of talk doesn't serve any...
Superman shuts the screen off.
Right, well known.
Out of frustration, he picks up a futuristic chair, struggles to lift it. He lets out a howl and throws the chair at the Panoramic glass wall. The chair bounces off and shatters all over the floor. Then the pieces of the chair rise and quickly reassemble themselves. It's unbreakable Kandorian furniture. Warily, out of sheer futility, Superman plops himself down in the chair. On the giant view screen, still dark, a red glow starts to appear in the center, as if a new image is appearing. The glow enlarges. The red-hot glow continues to expand until the entire vid screen explodes. A cloaked figure wielding a laser weapon steps out of the ruptured screen, emerging from the swirling smoke. A strong, older Kryptonian. This is Max Durr.
Come with me, and you will fulfill your destiny.
My destiny?
As strange as it may sound, Kal-El, you're going to set Kandor free.
Do I know you?
I know you. You were the greatest hero of Earth.
No more. I'm Kandorian now, an ordinary man.
Max gestures toward the smoking hole in the wall.
If you prefer, I'll go and seal that up behind me. Leave you here to rot in your comfortable twist.
You have a way of making a point.
Superman steps through the hole, but the moment he does, an alarm activates. Max curses under his breath and rushes after. We cut to a Kandor alleyway. Day. Superman and Max Durr emerge running from an air duct into the alley. Down the mouth of the alley are a row of arches, each capable of being closed off by a vertical grated metal divider. While Max nervously consults a device on his belt, Superman notices a handle on the wall.
We'd better hurry. The area is swarming with science police.
Superman pulls the handle, stepping on the other side of the archway. Instantly, the metal grating slides down, separating Max and Superman.
Did you lose your mind along with your powers?
The man you're looking for is gone. He died in Metropolis. I'm Cahill now. Let's just say I owe you one.
Superman runs out of the alley, disappearing into a crowd. Max lets out a shout of rage and fires his weapon at the grating, vaporizing a path through it. He emerges from the alley to see the three-man squad of science police arriving, and he conceals his weapon.
He went that way.
Max points in the wrong direction. The science police run off in that direction, then Max heads in the correct direction. We cut to the City Egg room inside Brainiac's ship. Kosmo is doing maintenance on the Metropolis City Egg. A robot drone follows him, and the baby drone playfully tags along, making excited cheese.
Okay. Move to the wall.
The robot happily backs up to the wall. Kosmo brings out a measuring gauge, measures the robot.
Look at this. You've grown almost 3 more centimeters. You're going to be as big as your brother soon.
The bigger drone has extended a cable into a socket in the side of the City Egg and beeps.
Yes. Back to work.
Kosmo punches up data on the drone's video screen. On the screen, a computer printout shows atmosphere normal, temperature range 58 to 89 degrees, deaths 37, births 4. Kosmo nods approval. Moves on to the next City Egg. This is Kandor. The drone plugs himself into the city. Cosmo punches up the computer info. Again on the screen, the computer readout shows atmosphere normal, temperature range 32 to 77 degrees, deaths 6, births 8. Then a strange readout flashes. Unexplained entry 1. Cosmo reacts to this, turns to his drone. He types on the keyboard.
But where's strange? Let's see if we can pinpoint the source.
A computer grid with a red pulsating light. The drone ejects his magnifier arm and places it over the Kandorian city. Cosmo peers through the viewer. From Cosmo's POV, the streets of Kandor are magnified, scanning like a bird's eye view. A red pulsating light intensifies as the magnifier scans over a crowd of people. We zoom down in on a figure, closer and closer until we're on his face. It's the unmistakable face of Superman, walking along a crowded Kandorian sidewalk. Cosmo pulls away from the viewer amazed. Gleefully, he picks up the baby drone and holds the viewer in front of him.
He lives. See? The Superman lives.
Cut to Kandor City Street Day, ultra-futuristic, once gleaming and pristine, but now after years of oppression, it has degenerated into a decrepit shell of its former glory. Like an inner city, dirty, used, plenty of neon and smoke. Monorails move through the buildings and hovercrafts zoom by. Superman takes it all in, a stranger in a strange land, a fish out of water, amazed and confused. A Kandorian whore passes Superman on the crowded streets. She stops, smiling at him.
In the mood for some gropa, handsome?
Superman does not respond. He's distracted by a Kandorian kid holding a wafer-thin plastic card, wearing a vest with pockets full of these. He presses a corner of the card and it projects a 3D holographic image of the human Brainiac in his command chair on the bridge. Superman grabs the kid by the collar.
Who are you, the science police? And what a surveillance disc. You pay for your thrills like everyone else.
Superman looks at Brainiac's image with silent fury.
That's the new Brainiac. Just smuggled from the Science Council. 5 darts and it's yours.
Superman releases the kid and walks away in disgust.
All right. 4 darts.
Superman moves past another kid selling some kind of refractant.
A quencher, mister. It's a hot day.
A Kandorian tosses a coin to the kid as Superman passes in the background. A man drinks the liquid as we cut to water in a ladle. As a thirsty man lifts the ladle out of a giant vat of water and gulps down a drink. We pull back to reveal rows of men, women, and children lined up in front of vats containing food, water, and medical supplies. National Guardsmen on hand to keep order. We're in Metropolis now. Perry, Jimmy, and Martha Kent stand in line, haggard, disheveled, spent. Behind Martha is a 10-year-old dark-haired boy with glasses, accompanied by his father. Harry looks to Ginny sadly.
I wish we could find Clark. Poor Mrs. Kent.
Martha smiles at the boy, pats him on the head. She's obviously still out of it.
You look so parched, Clark. Come, go ahead of me. I insist.
The boy and his father look at each other in puzzlement. We cut to Brainiac's gigantic face, peering in through the crystal canopy, leering over the miniature skyline of Metropolis. He smiles sadistically. Perry, Jimmy, others on the ground look up helplessly as we cut to the Chamber of Cities. Cosmo, accompanied by the baby drone, enters and walks along the row of crystal eggs. Cosmo begins to run when he notices something going on up ahead. Brainiac is pulling out one of the life support tubes hooked up to the Metropolis City egg, a drone next to him.
Is there a problem? A malfunction that I can attend to?
No problem.
But you're disconnected the oxygen supply to Metropolis.
Brainiac pulls out another tube, sparks and smoke.
That's their electricity.
Brainiac yanks out another tube, smiling sadistically.
That was the water supply.
Brainiac peers into Metropolis through the magnifier scope held out by the drone.
How long, Cosmo? Without the life support, how long before all the Earthlings are dead?
Just days. They'll die in a matter of days. What do such a thing?
I never understood before, Cosmo. My ceaseless quest to collect specimens.
Brainiac looks up from the scope and smiles.
The most the 12th level machine could do was steal life, study it. But I am so much more now. I am life. Which brings me to death.
Death?
Brainiac gestures towards the city eggs all around him.
From now on, I shall use my collection to observe death, study it. So many victims to choose from. Imagine the carnage, Cosmo. Mass slaughter on a scale beyond comprehension. I'll be able to amuse myself for years here.
Cosmo watches with silent dread as Brainiac's gaze rests on the Metropolis City egg.
Metropolis shall be first.
Brainiac walks out of the chamber.
That's the least I can do for Superman.
As the baby drone looks up at Cosmo, making concerned squeals, we cut to Kandor City day. Superman walking down the sidewalk, taking his new life in. A strange world. He passes a newsstand. A fat alien sits inside smoking a cigar. Superman points to a paper and pulls out some money.
Is a Zarsak one of these or one of these?
The fat alien takes 2 coins from Superman.
2 of these.
He hands Superman the paper, actually a thin plastic sheet. Superman presses a corner of the plastic and a page of print appears. Presses the corner again and another page appears. Superman continues along the crowded sidewalk. He's coming up on an alley. It's dingy. 2 men by a back door, a mean-looking Kandorian criminal, and a huge, obese alien with grotesque features. This is a slubber. They drool a lot. His fingers, wrists, arms, and neck are adorned with a garish array of gems, jewelry, and trinkets from other worlds. He wears a heavy coat, the lining also crammed with wares for sale, a walking pawn shop. A rear door opens and a woman moves out. This is Lyla Laurel. She's a beauty, but life on the Kandorian streets has given her a hard edge. The 3 speak in a strange, guttural alien language.
Where's the money? Oh, where is the money?
You know I'm good for it.
You're good for only one thing.
The Kandorian criminal grabs Lila's arm, twisting it. She screams in pain.
You sleep with your mother.
The slubber smiles, saliva dripping out of the corners of his mouth. He moves forward, reaches out his fat fingers, touches Lila's cheek. Suddenly, he smacks her hard, and she cries out in pain.
Let the woman go.
Superman reflexively taking the time-honored stance, hands on hips, standing dramatically. Only no costume and no powers. The 2 thugs turn and laugh at this strange Kandorian.
Go, before we sever your limbs.
Superman moves closer. Lyla looks intently at Superman.
I said, let her go.
The slubber wobbles towards Superman, close on Superman, and as if by instinct, he lets loose with a long puff of breath. But this is far from super breath. The slubber, puzzled, shrugs, then imitates Superman, puffs out a breath of his own. Then the slubber grabs Superman with awesome strength, slamming him against the wall like a riot. Superman tries to struggle free, but the slubber's too strong. He holds Superman as the Kandorian slugs him. Again and again, blood spurts. Lyla tries to pull the slubber back, but he slams to the ground. The Kandorian pulls out a compact laser weapon.
Hold out his arm.
He aims the device, but Superman manages to pivot the slubber into the path of the laser. A thin beam slices off the slubber's hand. It drops to the ground as we hear his scream of pain. The strap still on his wrist, among them a thick wristband equipped with microcomponents. The slubber growls at the Kandorian now.
Not my fault! Not my fault!
The Kandorian runs off. The slubber, confused and dazed, looks around for his missing hand. The slubber's severed hand lies in the dirt, a grotesque alien-looking appendage. The fingers begin to move, and the severed hand begins to crawl away. The slubber scoops his hand up off the ground and runs away. Superman, though, is in bad shape. Face bleeding, maybe a rib broken. Lyla moves to him, helping him up.
Chirpa, sir. No one takes on the slubber.
I take it he was the big one?
They're aliens. If their trade barge hasn't stopped us on Kandor the day Brainiac took us.
He winces as he grabs his chest area.
Careful. Something may be broken.
I think I need to lie down.
That place isn't far.
She encourages him to lean on her for support as they move out of the alley.
Her name's Lyla. Lyla Laryl. Never met an L before.
How did you know I was an L?
Don't you know what that stands for?
Superman looks down at the black S emblem on his chest as we cut to Metropolis City street day. All power shut off. People outside their building. Street lights out. Escalating panic. Timmy Olsen is talking to a group of maintenance people working over an open manhole. They're hot and tired.
What's the story? I got reports even backup generators at the hospitals are down.
It's worse than that, kid. The city's completely out. We just got word from the water boys. We're losing our reserves at over 10,000 gallons a minute.
On Timmy's worried face, we cut to inside Brainiac's ship, the colossal central maze. Brainiac and Lois are dwarfed as they move along one of the walkways spanning the vast infrastructure of the ship.
You look forward to rejoining your friends, don't you?
Oh, being full-size doesn't amount to much when everyone you know is still microscopic. How much longer do you figure before my body can withstand the shrinking process again?
They come upon a vast window showing magnificent deep outer space, replete with colorful nebulas and planets and stars. We cut to a monitor screen, Brainiac and Lois still walking, outer space behind them.
A few more days at most. In the meantime, you can't imagine the wonders I'll show you, Lois. Sights beyond anything your human friends could ever conceive. The universe holds secrets that even I have yet to discover. Perhaps you and I could uncover a few of them together.
Lois smiles. Brainiac takes her hand. We pull back to show Brainiac and Kosmo on the main bridge watching the screen.
How much longer do you intend to lie to her?
Just long enough. You should be happy for me, Kosmo. I think I'm starting to experience this human emotion called love. Imagine being with the mate of my opponent. It's almost a pity Superman isn't allowed to see this.
Kosmo suddenly sneezes, suddenly.
Cosmo, are you all right? Something I said?
A push in on Cosmo, smiling sheepishly. Cut to Lyla's apartment day. Superman and Lyla enter. Futuristic high-tech, but dingy and old. Furniture and appliances tattered.
That's not much, but it's mine.
Superman plants his head, woozy. Lyla grabs hold of him, lays him on her bed.
Easy now.
She brings out a small plastic disc, begins to run it by his chest and face. An orange glow emanates from the disc. The injured areas on Superman's body begin to glow red. As cuts on his face begin to fade away, we realize the disc is some kind of advanced healing device.
In my line of work, a girl can't do without one of these.
She moves into her tattered high-tech kitchen.
I know what you need.
She puts 2 small packets on a disc. The disc glows and the packets instantly transform to 2 plastic cups of seeming red liquid. On the sink top is an alien plant with white cherry-sized buds, drokas, dangling from it.
Take Droka with your lips in?
Just cream.
Green? It's both sap.
Never mind.
Lyla holds her cup under the plant.
One, please.
A vine wiggles and drops 1 droka into her lipsum. Then Lyla sits on the bed next to Superman, giving him one of the cups.
Here. It'll soothe you. Relax you. Just enough.
Lyla smiles and begins to unbutton her top.
What are you doing?
Something for you. You did something for me.
Before Superman can react, Lyla has removed her top. With her back to us, she's exposed her breasts to Superman. He doesn't know what to say.
You don't mind me phrasing?
Lyla studies Superman's troubled face.
You already have a woman. What of it? Most men in Candor do. Doesn't let it stop them.
Lyla moves closer and kisses Superman. He doesn't kiss back. He pulls away.
You don't usually do that. You're not like most men, are you?
Superman lays back on the bed, groggy, the lipsum taking effect. Lyla looks down at Superman falling asleep. She puts her top back on.
Such a shame.
She curls up next to Superman and rests her head on his shoulder. Saul to a close-up on Superman and Lyla sleeping together. Things are quiet, still, peaceful. Suddenly, the metal door bubbles and shatters apart with tremendous force, and Brainiac stands there and walks in. Superman and Lyla awaken. He jumps up.
You don't admit defeat easily. I like that in an opponent.
How did you find me?
Brainiac finds everything. I brought you a friend.
Brainiac holds out his green hand and opens it. On the palm of his hand stands Lois, only an inch tall.
Please help me.
She's mine now.
No! Superman lunges forward. Brainiac backhands him with his free arm. Brainiac then slowly closes his hand, making a fist, and we hear Lois screaming in pain.
No! You can't!
A close on Brainiac's tightening fist as trickles of blood ooze between his closed nipples.
What can I say? I'm human.
Close on Superman, pure and utter anguish, torture as he cries.
Lois! 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 Lois!
They cut to Superman suddenly sitting bolt upright, eyes wide open, his bearded face beaded with sweat. He looks around frantically. He pulled back to show Lyla holding Superman.
It's all right. And you. You were dreaming.
Superman rubs his eyes.
Take her out.
He stares ahead to her beat.
So your woman's name is Lois.
Let's go somewhere. Any place open this late?
Yeah. But I don't think you'll like it.
Cut to inside Brainiac's ship, a transport tube. We push in on the jet tram parked in the tube, and it looks empty. Inside the jet tram, Lois is hunched down, trying various controls. Suddenly, engines whine and the jet tram is propelled backwards. Lois pulls a lever until it stops. She pushes another lever, and the jet tram accelerates forward. Lois holds on. We cut to a darkened corridor on Brainiac's ship. We hear a pitiful moan, a painful cry in the dark. Lois moves out from the shadows. She changes direction when she hears the moan again. She comes to a door with alien markings on it, the moaning coming from inside. She presses a small panel. The door slides open. It's dark inside, and we hear the sounds of powerful machinery. This is the fusion engine room. Lois cautiously moves inside, quickly ducks behind some huge metal piping as something in the shadows drags itself into a corner, near some dirty machinery. It's too dark to make out what it is as Lois moves closer. More moaning. Hiding in the dim light, Lois spies it. A strange, pathetic-looking thing. A glob of pulp and entrails. There are eyes with the head seeking the mass of veins and blood and tissue, like something living whose anatomy was turned inside out. This is the only survivor left among Kosmo's friends that Brainiac enlarged. This one has been kept alive by Kosmo, who moves into the room carrying a metal case. As usual, the baby drone accompanies him. He kneels by his friend, who tries to lift his head up as if to acknowledge Kosmo. Kosmo does not stutter here.
There, Bagra. I brought you something.
Kosmo opens the case, pulling out an injector of some kind. The baby drone's antenna twitches. It scoots over to where Lois is hiding, beeping loudly, its little arm grabbing Lois by the leg and pulls her out of the shadows. Cosmo whirls around, instinctively eyeing his stuff. What are you two here?
It's called snooping.
Brainiac would be very angry.
Brainiac, listen, I knew Brainiac was a phony after his end of the world number. The sense around was a nice touch, but I didn't buy the comment.
We underestimated you, Lois Lane.
The creature moans again.
The poor thing.
Brainiac knew he could never withstand another enlargement. He'd gone through too many cycles already. I managed to keep him alive. But he's an unspeakable pig.
Cosmo prepares the hypo, loading and adjusting it.
Brainiac is worse than her. He intends to kill millions. He has to be stopped. There's only one man who can rid the universe of him. Superman.
Superman is dead.
A long beat.
No. He lives.
Lois is dumbstruck. We push in.
But
I saw the funeral.
He's alive. I saw him once in the city from Krypton.
Lois has new inspiration, new hope.
Krypton. Of course, that's the planet Superman comes from. Show me Kosmo. Show me the city. I have to see it for myself.
Cosmo thinks for a beat.
Do you think you could persuade him to help me?
I think I can handle that.
Don't say yes until you know all the facts. What I will ask of you will be very difficult.
For Superman, I'll do anything.
A heart-wrenching moan. Cosmo looks to the creature.
Very difficult.
Stroking it lovingly, Cosmo gently injects the creature with the hypo. In response, the creature emits a soft, gentle moan. A death moan.
He's at peace now. Goodbye, Mackerel.
Weepy, Cosmo looks up at Lois.
My brother would have done the same for me.
The baby drone makes a sad whimper as we cut to a close-up on 2 champagne glasses clinking. We pull back to reveal we are on the main bridge where Lois and Brainiac are enjoying the champagne. Brainiac swallows, savors it. Lois seems lightheaded. Playing on the multi-screens are various love scenes from TV and films. Brainiac is trying to create a mood. Lois strolls over to a viewing portal looking out at the colorful stars of outer space.
You miss him very much, don't you?
Earth only knew the hero. I knew the man. He was wonderful to me. Brainiac. So tender, so loving. And passionate. Superman was so very passionate.
Brainiac's champagne glass suddenly shatters in his grip. Lois sees his green hand is bleeding.
Does it hurt?
The drone will attend to it.
A drone promptly hovers over, extending an appendage that beams a ray at Brainiac's hand, instantly healing it. Lois takes his hand.
Can a drone do this?
She brings his hand to her lips, sensually kisses it. Brainiac is titillated. Lois whispers into Brainiac's ear.
Come to my room later. I don't think I can spend another night on this ship alone.
But I thought you said...
Superman is dead. I'm not. I still have needs. Human needs.
Yes, human needs. I think I understand.
Move in on Brainiac as we cut to inside Daily Planet Day. Place is brutally hot. People are sweating. Windows are broken out to allow air in. People suffering from first stages of dehydration. Time is running out. Jimmy walks in, drenched with sweat. Perry is giving Martha Kent a sip of rationed water. She's barely conscious. Perry doesn't look so great.
Word on the street is the water's been cut off. How much do we have left here?
She just had the last of it.
On their faces, we cut to exterior Brainiac ship in outer space, passing by a colorful nebula. Inside Lois's room, Lois is in a nightgown and stands by the viewing portal, looking at the nebula. Brainiac stands behind her, bare-chested, his hands on her shoulders. He gently turns her around. Their eyes lock.
You are gone.
He forcefully brings her close to him. They kiss, long and passionate. On her nightgown dropping around Lois's bare feet, we dissolve to 2 bodies on the bed making love. Beautiful and passionate. Lois on top, her hands gently stroking Brainiac's chest. Lois's dark hair cascading down, obscuring the camera as we push in close to Brainiac's face. The ultimate explosion of passion. Physical and emotional love. We move in closer and see tears rolling down Brainiac's face. We cut to a close on Brainiac staring up at the ceiling, in bed with Lois next to him. Brainiac strokes her face gently, her eyes open. She smiles at him.
It was more than I imagined. It was indescribable. I don't think I have ever felt more alive. And you? How was it for you?
Her smile changes.
I felt nothing.
Brainiac's used.
What? How can you say that? We made love. We experienced the ultimate emotion together.
How can a machine feel emotion?
I am not a machine. I am a man.
In anger, Brainiac smacks her. Her head snaps back. She remains calm.
A 12th level mind and you still don't understand? You never made love with Lois. You never even touched her.
Brainiac's mind is computing millions of bits of information. Furious, confused, rage is building.
No!
He smacks her in the head so hard it rips from her body and rolls across the floor. Wires and electrical sparks fly. It's an android's head. Lois's android head on the floor, and now when it speaks, it has the voice of Kosmo.
I'm a machine, Brainiac. A machine.
Brainiac steps into shot, grabs the head by its hair, holds it to his face, wires dangling from the neck.
And Superman lives!
Those words punch into him like a spear.
No! No! I killed him! I won! Superman lives. And Lois is with him. They are together, and you are alone. Alone with your lifeless machines.
In utter rage, Brainiac smashes the Lois head against the wall. It cracks and crumbles. Only a metal skeleton remains as it still speaks.
Superman will rise up and defeat you, Brainiac. You lose. You lose. You lose.
Brainiac sues out a beam from his head as an electrodes, striking the Lois robot bed, disintegrating it.
No!
Outside Lois's room, Brainiac emerges, the headless Lois android under one arm. He flings it across the vast expanse and lets out a primal scream that echoes throughout the ship.
Ah! This time, I will make you beg for death, Superman. You will beg for death!
Cut to interior chamber of cities. Cosmo on one knee in front of the real Lois, checking the pair of alien NASA-type high-tech boots that she now wears. The shrieking ray apparatus behind them positioned next to Kandor City.
Do I have to wear the space boots?
At all times. The gravity in Kandor is 5 times what you're used to.
The baby drones begin beeping excitedly.
Brainiac's on his way here.
Cosmo affectionately holds the baby drone for a beat.
Go, hide. That's an order.
Cosmo kisses the baby drone, sets him down. The drone makes a sad beat and skitters away as we cut to Brainiac melting his way through a steel door with the red-hot force field. And he melts his way through another locked door, and another. We cut back to Cosmo and Lois with little time to spare.
You know what to do.
Cosmo gives her some marble-sized crystals and a small tracking device. Lois places them in the shoulder pouch she wears.
This should be enough for the headband, and this device will enable you to track Superman.
Thank you, Cosmo.
Goodbye, Lois Lane.
Cosmo presses the controls. Lois shrieks and vanishes before our eyes as the apparatus flashes a tiny beam into Kandor. Cosmo kicks the free-floating shrieking apparatus, sending it gliding past a dozen or so other city eggs, just as the chamber door glows ominously in the contour of a man's body. Brainiac's force field melting through the door, and he steps on through.
Where are they, Cosmo?
Cosmo remains silent, shuddering with fear.
I can see you, and I have one more game to play.
We cut to Kandor City Street's day. A cone-shaped light beams down and Lois materializes in an alley. She moves into the crowded street, past vendors. She sees 2 Kandorian kids behind a stand full of wares. Among them, a stack of distinctive headbands. Lois holds out 4 crystals and points to the headbands.
Is this enough for one of us?
The kids look at each other. They speak a strange-sounding language, Kryptonese.
What planet is she from?
Who gives a drug? Just charge you double.
Kid 1 takes all 4 crystals from Lois's hand and gives her a headband. She puts it on, presses buttons where it covers her temples.
How's the fit?
Fine. You're something fine yourself.
Lois doesn't hear him. She's looking at her tracking device and already walking away. Cut to a close-up on a slubber comedian finishing a joke and the laugh coming from his audience.
Have you heard the Brian Elder's new campaign slogan? Let my people grow.
Loud laughter as we pull back to reveal we are at a Kandorian nightclub that caters to slubbers. The slubber on the stage faces a mixed audience of slubbers and Kandorians seated at small tables.
Then there's my wife. I told her I was stopping by Candor for a long weekend, but 30 years! Who knew?
More laughter from the crowd. Superman and Lyla stand at a bar. Superman disheveled, his beard darker. The slubber bartender makes a guttural sound as he gives Lyla and Superman drinks from strange glasses. Superman takes a sip. It's a weird taste to him.
You get used to the taste, trust me.
Lyla orders another one. The slubber comedian is talking to a Kandorian husband and wife at a front table, both laughing.
Imagine how much harder these two would be laughing if they could understand the jokes. Speaking of fat and stupid, who knows how many slubbers it takes to replace a light ball?
Lyla is just staring at Superman, trying to figure him out as he takes another drink. It goes down hard.
What about you, Cahill? You haven't told me anything about your past.
Superman thinks for a beat as if a sudden realization flushes over him.
Past? I have no past.
He takes another drink.
Oh, you do get used to the taste.
Lyla here.
The slubber comedian plays to the laughing crowd.
Kandorian women. They don't like jokes at all. The other night I asked one to go out, and she said, "Don't make me laugh."
More laughter from the crowd. Exterior rundown Kandorian bar night. Lois approaches, guided by the tracking device. A slubber bouncer stands by the door.
Are you sure you want to go in there?
No, but I have to.
She goes inside. Inside bar, Superman and Lyla. She's knocking down her third drink. Superman is having another one as well. She slows him down.
Oh, easy, Cahill. Those are trippers.
Superman is slightly inebriated. He looks Lyla up and down.
You know, there was a time I could see right through your clothes if I wanted to.
Lyla smiles. She likes that.
Why bother?
I'll take them up.
No. I'm serious.
So am I.
For a good guy, Cahill, you're a little weird. You know that?
Superman becomes lost in thought.
Good? I was a great guy.
He slams his glass on the bar and it shatters.
Yeah. Sure. Sure you were, Cahill.
Lyla kisses Superman's neck. On Lois, looking around the tough bar, dirty guys and some girls look, smile at Lois. On Superman and Lyla, she's stroking Superman's neck, smiling. Lois moves into shot.
Superman?
Superman breaks off with Lyla and stares at Lois. Lois notices the growth of beard, the weary, vacant look in his eyes. She senses something's terribly wrong.
Who the moon is this?
Lois?
Lois. This scrawny thing is your Lois.
Yeah. You I'll get back to. Now, what the hell are you doing here, Superman? Metropolis needs you, and you're sitting in a bar drinking with the slut?
Slut? I do not know this word slut.
Lois looks at Superman with tears in her eyes.
I thought you were dead, for God's sake. And now I find you here like this?
I like him like this.
Lois takes a clear package out from her pouch. Superman's costume.
Look what I brought you. Brainiac's helper, he's on our side. He beamed me onto Kandor to find you. He has a secret place back at the ship for you to enlarge. He's counting on you to go after Brainiac. We all are.
Superman doesn't take the costume.
I can't wear that anymore, Lois. I'm sorry.
You're sorry? You're not the one who risked her life and went through hell down here to find you.
I'm just an ordinary man now. What can I say?
Can't you see he doesn't want you? Run along, girl.
Lois is enraged, doesn't know what to do, where to turn, when a laser gun presses against Superman's head.
Come with me.
We pull back to reveal Max Durr wielding the weapon. Everyone's confused and shocked. On the bouncer, a huge Kandorian guy moving up behind Max. He grabs the wrist that holds the laser. In one clean move, Max Durr tucks his elbow into the bouncer's gut, spins, kicks him 4 times straight in the face, and he goes down like a sack of cement. Max smoothly trains the laser back on Superman and nods towards the door.
You owe me one, remember?
They leave. Lois is stupefied. Lyla's annoyed. Lois consults Kosmo's tracking device and starts for the door. Lyla stops her.
Where do you think you're going, whore?
Lois's frustration turns to rage. She makes a fist and punches Lyla in the face. Lyla crashes back into a table.
Mind your own business, bitch.
Lois moves out the bar. We cut to inside of the Kandorian Council chamber. Talks into a view screen.
I don't care what it takes. Find him.
On the screen, a science police officer in a police hovercraft.
Immobilize every squad we have. He will not escape Kandor alive.
Cut to exterior Kandor City night. Max Durr at the controls on open-top hovercraft. It's old, battered, and tarnished. Like Max, it has seen better days. Superman in the passenger seat. The view of the nighttime Kandorian skyline is awesome. We cut to the Kandor desert night, showing the magnificent chiseled glass cliffs of Jewel Mountain, naturally composed of every gem found in the universe. Diamonds, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, etc. And running down the mountain is the incredible Fire Falls, a 500-foot sheath of flame that spills to the ground below. The flames light up the jewels in the mountain, making it one of the most incredible displays of natural beauty in the whole universe. Max's hovercraft lands next to the Pandorian Temple of Raal at the base of the mountain. Closer on the temple night, a once majestic structure now eroded, overrun with vines, encrusted with dust and grime. A half-mile away, Jewel Mountain looms, glinting beneath the artificial Kandorian moonlight. Max Durr, still wielding his weapon, motions Superman towards the entrance of the temple.
I'm telling you, Max Durr, this is a waste of time.
I know.
You're just Oh.
They enter. Interior temple. The camera pans displays showing cultural and scientific achievements of the Kandorian people. Everything has an inch of dust on it. As they walk through, Superman picks up an intricate scientific device. It breaks apart in his hand. Years of neglect.
All this science and culture gone to waste.
After Brainiac showed us Krypton's destruction, no one wanted to be reminded of our past. For most people, it became easier to forget. I come here to remember.
Max ushers Superman into a circular chamber with an open skylight.
Aeons ago, the ancient masters of Krypton prophesied the capture of Kandor. They predicted a mighty hero would appear one day to free us.
Max points to the far wall, where there's a large metal shield embedded, its surface riddled with cracks.
The legend says this hero will be the one man who has the strength to shatter the unbreakable Shield of Raal.
Superman has a closer look at the network of winding cracks in the gleaming surface of the heavy, imposing shield.
Many Kandorians have tried. None succeeded.
What happens if the shield breaks?
The ancients neglected to tell me.
I'm no stronger than any other man in Kandor.
Max hands Superman a heavy steel club.
You look good.
Superman gives Max a look, then lifts the club. He concentrates, tenses up. Summoning all the force he can muster, in slow motion he begins to swing the club. With a deafening clang, the club strikes the shield dead center, then shatters in a spectacular display, causing a jumble of metal fragments to fall out. The pattern left in the shield is the unmistakable contour of the L insignia, the Superman S. As a result, a hidden beacon in the back of the room flashes on, becoming a powerful burst of light across the room through the S contour of the shield. The exterior temple in Jewel Mountain Night, the beam of light flashes out across the desert, striking the side of Jewel Mountain. As a result, a giant image of Jor-El's face appears on the various facets of the jeweled surface, irradiating the entire mountain, causing it to light up as if it were one colossal crystal. Jor-El's voice booms across the desert.
My son, if you're hearing these words, you're without your powers. Trapped in Kandor and facing more danger and jeopardy than you've ever known before.
Push in tight on Superman's face. The reflected light dances on his features. The words of his long-lost father are having a profound effect on Superman.
You may wonder how you can survive the challenges that lie ahead. The answer is simple. You must believe in the power of your destiny. If you had never left Krypton, my son, you would still be a hero. A champion. A leader of men. That you must understand. Believe it yourself, Kal-El. That is the most awesome power of all. All you must do is believe. Believe. Believe.
As the giant images of Jor-El fade away, the morning sky rises. A most beautiful day begins. As we dissolve to Superman's face, his father's message has left its indelible mark. Superman is resolute, the man of steel again. He turns to Max Durr. A long moment here.
How do I get to Brainiac?
We need a special device. There's only one of its kind left in all Kandor. A slubber has it.
Smash cut to interior Brainiac ship robotics lab. Kosmo strapped to a rack. Brainiac stands over him preparing a laser duel.
Such a pitiful gesture, self-sacrifice. I know you, Kosmo. You look upon this pain as your punishment. Punishment for creating the machines that created me.
You're a monster. We should have dismantled you on Kolu.
Brainiac pauses for a beat and thinks.
Kolu. What an excellent idea, Kosmo. We're going home.
Brainiac leans closer and applies a spinning laser device to Kosmo's shoulder. A scream of pain. We cut to the Kandor city streets. Through a littered, shoddy rundown area, a dark-footed figure moves through the debris. A Kandorian police hovercraft slowly gliding along, just a few feet off the ground, searching, looking. The craft stops at the cloaked figure.
Stop, or we fire.
You don't understand. I have to find Superman.
A science police appears and grabs Lois. Others surround her. He takes the blinking device from her hand, and he smiles.
So duty.
Cut to a futuristic shack day. In the midst of a Kandorian junkyard in the outskirts of the city, old rusted hovercrafts, parts of futuristic appliances, strained components of all shapes and sizes. This is Kandorian junk. Interior shack, dark, dingy. The room is littered with rusted objects. At the entrance stands a henchman, the same Kandorian who was with the slubber earlier in the streets. Superman and Max stand facing. The slubber who sits on an old couch in the darkened side of the room. Snuggled next to him in the shadows is a sexy woman.
50 ursex is a great deal of money. Look around. For 50, you can have your pick of any item you see.
We know what we want.
From his belt, Max pulls a futuristic flashlight. He beams it into the shadows of the slubber's arm, spotlighting the slubber's right hand, revealing the stitching that shows his hand was recently sewn back on. Strapped just above the wrist is the high-tech wrist device we saw earlier.
The device on your wrist.
The slubber holds up his wrist and smiles. Saliva drips from his mouth.
Curious trinket. A personal favorite of mine. For me to part with it'll cost you dear.
Whatever you asked.
The woman in shadow speaks up, her voice familiar.
I think we can interest the young one in a far cheaper item.
Max shines his flashlight at the woman, revealing the face of Lyla, the slubber's ugly fat arm around her. Lyla smiles. Superman reacts, shocked to see her.
Where's Lois?
Lois? You still can't get that whore off your mind?
Lyla kisses the slubber a wet and sloppy kiss. Ugh. Superman reacts as Lyla approaches him, holding up a vid disc wafer.
You know what your problem is? You trust women too much.
Lyla presses several buttons on the wafer. The small disc lights up and projects a 3D holographic image into the air.
You've seen a black market surveillance disc before?
The swiftly expanding image is hazy at first.
The Science Council is very thorough when it comes to monitoring Brainiac's ship.
The image now comes into focus to reveal Brainiac and Lois in her room, making passionate love the night before.
Nothing Brainiac does gets past them. Nothing.
A tight on Superman's face. Speechless. His look tells us all. It's agony for him, but he keeps watching. The slubber laughs loudly, getting
Copies of that ought to sell very well in Kandor.
He continues to laugh his slubbery laugh as we boob in tight on Superman's face, watching the woman he loves making love to the green Brainiac. Lyla sees how deeply the tape is affecting Superman. The slubber's laughter adding an insidious element to the scene. Superman, enraged, knocks the wafer out of her hand. The henchman pulls a laser gun about to fire. Max pulls out his laser, blasts the crook into mincemeat. The slubber pulls up a weapon of his own. Superman kicks it out of his hand. The slubber comes up and grabs for Superman. Superman slugs him and hurts his hand. Get the device. The slubber scoops up the henchman's gun that lays on the floor and gets the drop on Superman and Max Durr.
Freeze or I'll slice your head off.
Max Durr drops his weapon. Lyla reacts. She lunges at the slubber, grabbing the laser.
No! You can't.
Superman and Max sigh with relief as Lyla slowly brings up the laser, and she aims it at Superman's head.
I do the slicing.
Max instantly brings out a backup laser from his boot, blasting a hole right through Lyla before she has a chance to inhale. Superman lunges at the slubber and begins to beat the shit out of him. Even without powers, he now has the spirit to overcome obstacles ordinary men couldn't. The slubber goes down, cold, and Superman removes the wrist device as they move out the door. We cut to the exterior of the slubber's shack. A half dozen science police converge on Superman and Max as they move out. Hot red lights swap on.
Superman of Earth, this is the Science Police. You are under arrest.
Closer on Lois, handcuffed in a police hovercraft.
I'm sorry, Superman.
She squirms in the open-top craft, then kicks the throttle, launching the craft forward. It bumps into Max's craft. This momentary distraction allows Max to get into his craft. Superman grabs Lois, lifting her into their craft, dodging laser fire from the Science Police. Max Durr's hovercraft pulls out, blasted by laser fire. On a couple of Science Police hovercraft joining in the chase, Max Durr's hovercraft makes a 180-degree turn and heads right for them. The two police hovercrafts split apart. One loses control and veers wildly and hits the ground, bouncing, skidding. The two Science Police are thrown clear. The craft skids across the street, kicking up a violent array of sparks until it slams into a wall and explodes. follows. The other police hovercraft, meanwhile, gives a rapid chase. Max chugs through the air at a much slower clip. Max Durr, though, seems unfazed as he reaches under his console.
Strap yourselves in.
As they do, Max Durr slams a hidden shifter down hard. The battered hovercraft suddenly accelerates as its pulse-powered supercharger roars into full gear. The hovercraft banks sharply to the right, doing a breakneck 90-degree turn around a towering spire. A police hovercraft tries to keep up, taking the same turn considerably slower. Max swoops the hovercraft down to the narrow byways of the tenement district at dizzying speed. The hovercraft twisting and turning through the narrow passageways at incredible speed. Superman holds Lois tight. She notices he's strangely cold to her.
I used to be better at this.
The police hovercraft follows. The battered hovercraft speeds through an alley, and Superman looks over to see a holographic duplicate of the battered hovercraft materializing in midair, flying alongside them like a mirror image. Max hits a switch. The holographic hovercraft veers off. The police hovercraft sees their quarry, and they veer off and give chase. Meanwhile, on a wall, Max Durr's holographic craft glides right on through without harm. The police hovercraft follows in hot pursuit.
It must be a false wall.
As their hovercraft speeds closer to the wall, the two police guards look at each other with growing uncertainty.
It must be.
At the last second, both decide not to chance it.
Groper! Buck.
They simultaneously hit their ejector seats and poof, ejected from the speeding hovercraft just as it explodes spectacularly against the wall. We cut now to the inside of the Daily Planet. Things are worse than before. Perry behind the desk looking pale and sickly. He's trying to keep Martha Kent from falling asleep.
Hang on, Martha.
Jimmy enters.
Anything I can do?
I don't think she's gonna last through the night.
Jimmy puts his arm around Perry.
Who'd ever thought it'd end like this, huh, Mr. White?
Do me a favor, Jimmy. Call me Chief.
Cut to back alley in Candor Day. Max Durr's hovercraft lands in the alley. It's a dead end. All get out. Max moves to the wall, steps forward, disappearing through the wall. Superman and Lois hesitate, then step through and vanish also. Interior underground tunnel, dark, dingy. They approach a fork. Max Durr doesn't hesitate and takes a left.
You know your way around down here. I should help build these tunnels.
We hear a hideous scream of agony as we then cut to a close-up on Kosmo, still strapped into a rack in the robotics laboratory. He screams again. Cosmo's covered with terrible gashes and wounds from the unspeakable torture Brainiac is inflicting. Brainiac stands over him, holding a wicked-looking robotic tool he'd been using to do the torture.
You were right, Cosmo. Life is overrated. All this pain and suffering. And for what? We know better, you and I. So all you have to do is tell me. Tell me where you sent her, and I promise the pain will go away. I will end your life.
Cosmo, though barely conscious, looks up at his tormentor with all the venom and hatred he can muster. And for the first time ever around Brainiac, he does not stutter.
What do you know about life, you green-skinned son of a bitch? You're still a machine. Just a fucking machine.
Is that any way for a father to talk to his son?
Brainiac applies his instrument of torture, killing Kocher, and turns to the three robot drones who have fearfully entered the room.
He's all yours now.
Brainiac leaves as the drones look to one another, making sad noises. We cut back to the inside of the underground tunnels. Max, Superman, and Lois come to a moss-encrusted door. Max pushes some switches hidden beneath some fungus. A door slides open. They all move through.
What is this place? We dug these tunnels looking for a way out.
Max Durr moves towards another corridor. Lois senses something strange with Superman. Cut to exterior Candor City streets day. Troops of science police are searching the streets using probe devices that allow them to peer into walls, through buildings, and into the ground. Cut to interior underground tunnel. Max is in the lead, Superman following, his back to Lois. Lois is fed up. She can't take it anymore and steps in front of Superman.
Can we just stop here for a minute?
We must go on.
Superman, first, I've got to clear something up here, okay? Because I've kind of had it. Superman, since that little chase back there, you've been acting like I've got some kind of leprosy. Do you realize what I've been through just to frame you?
Superman stares at Lois coldly.
I have been shrunk, enlarged, shrunk again, which is no day at the beach, and I can tell you that. I have been shot at with lasers, no less. Then I find you with a strange woman in a strange bar in a strange city, in a goddamn strange planet for that matter. So what's your goddamn problem?
A long beat.
I think you know, Lois.
No, I'm completely in the dark here.
You and Brainiac. I saw.
It takes a beat for Lois to understand.
Oh my god. Oh, jeez. It was an android.
Superman looks at her puzzled.
Android. Like a robot?
A sign of relief on Superman's face, he breaks into a wide grin and Lois smiles.
Off the record, how did I look?
Why did I doubt you?
Ethan.
She kisses him as we cut to the high-tech wrist device. Max's hand is placing it in Superman's hand.
Our science came up with it. 2 settings, one to shrink, one to enlarge.
Superman, now wearing his costume, his beard gone. Magnificent. He straps the device around his wrist. Max pulls a lever in a panel in the rock wall.
How many of these did you give out?
Pull back to reveal the 3 of them now stand in a large underground cavern.
Non-Kryptonians proceeded here.
A wide hatch begins to slide back in the stone floor, exposing a 20-foot wide circular hole.
It believed he could survive the flood.
The sound of rushing air like a wind tunnel fills the cave.
They were wrong, all of them.
On the hole in the ground, looking down into the vertical tunnel, it appears to be a bottomless black pit that extends deep, deep down through the rock foundation beneath the city egg, and barely discernible, miles below, the far end of the tunnel, and an open end.
We came across it years ago. It's one of the exhaust tubes that vent Kandor's atmosphere. Once you fall out, you'll be free of the crystal shell.
Free of Kandor's atmosphere and gravity. All my powers should come back. In time to break the fall.
Max drops a large rock down the tunnel, silence for a long beat as it falls.
He hopes so.
You hope so? You have got to be out of your minds. That's a 3-mile drop.
4 miles. But only if he can live through the laser.
A frenetic blast of crisscrossing lasers erupt at the far end of the tunnel. The rock is vaporized.
All your predecessors were trained in the art of free falling, but none of them was agile enough to maneuver past the lasers.
None of them knew how to fly, Max.
Anyone can do it.
Suddenly, an explosion ripped through the wall of the cave. As the smoke clears, 6 police guards emerge, their weapons primed, one holding the tracking device.
In the name of the science police, you are all under arrest.
Making an instantaneous decision, Max pushes Lois into the pit. Go! Instantly, the police guards fire their weapons, disintegrating Max. Superman dives into the pit as the police guards fire. Down into the miles-deep tunnel, they plunge. Lois in the lead, flailing helplessly as she falls. Superman plummeting headfirst, arms ahead of him, aerodynamic as if he's flying. Superman begins to overtake her. Faster, faster, closer, closer. Finally, he gets a hold of Lois and embraces her in his arms. The laser gauntlet rapidly looming up. Holding Lois close, Superman draws on aerial agility derived from a lifetime of flying, altering his fall enough to zig and zag between the crisscrossing lasers as he falls with Lois. The lasers firing, missing them by inches. The beams sear past them again and again until they're home free. The bottom of the tunnel. Superman and Lois drop out like 2 tiny pebbles. Closer on Superman and Lois, free falling out of the bottom of the city egg, heading down towards the floor of the Chamber of Cities. Did I say home free? His powers should have returned by now, but they haven't! He and Lois are falling over 100 miles an hour, plunging towards the immense floor. Lois sees the look on Superman's face. He tries to regain control, attempts to fly, but he can't. The floor looming closer and closer. Superman just shakes his head at Lois as certain death approaches. Then, just as they're going to hit, Superman feels his powers return, and at the last possible second, he arches his body and flies. Swoops up with Lois in his arms just before hitting the floor. He flies up and sets Lois down on top of the Kandor City Crystal Shell.
I'll be right back. I have to go save Metropolis.
And Superman flies up into the air, and immediately is scooped up by a crystal vial, tumbling into the bottom as the top seals up. A wide shot shows Brainiac holding the crystal vial, Superman trapped inside the unbreakable crystal like an insect, Brainiac laughing as he brings out the tube, Superman pounding and banging to break out.
You just don't know how to stay dead, do you?
On Superman trapped inside the crystal vial, he looks down at his wrist enlarging device, then presses the enlarging button. Instantly, with a spectacular visual effect, Superman begins to enlarge the full size, breaking out of the crystal vial. Now standing face to face with Brainiac, Superman faces him off, hands on hips.
No, I guess I don't.
Brainiac roars with anger, shooting out a beam of energy from his electrodes. Superman, using super speed, darts out of the way. The beam strikes a piece of machinery, exploding it. Brainiac shoots another beam. Again, Superman dodges. The beam explodes a console. Again, Brainiac tries to zap Superman, who's just too swift. Again, and again, and again. Brainiac, totally frustrated, almost destroying the entire room as he tries to zap Superman, who's just too fast. Superman lands directly in front of Brainiac and snaps a rapid succession of punches at him. The force field deflects the mighty blows. Brainiac throws a right cross, but fast as a spark, Superman raises a hand and catches Brainiac's fist, then twists Brainiac's arm, spinning him around so he can grab him from behind. Superman flies out of the lab, holding Brainiac in front as he smashes through a wall. Superman accelerates forward, pushing Brainiac through 3 more compartments in rapid succession. The last wall explodes through and open into the colossal central maze. Across the wide chasm they speed, their bodies dwarfed by the vast infrastructure. Superman gaining momentum all the while, smash through one of the transport tubes, slicing in 2. Crash through another wall into one of the ship's fusion engines. Inside the fusion engine, Superman holds Brainiac tight, flying through the violent, swirling miasma of energy.
I cannot be killed, Superman. Nothing penetrates my force field.
Crash out the other side of the engine they go through a final section of the ship.
Kill you, Brainiac? How can I kill you? You're already dead.
No! I'm a living being. I'm alive.
It takes a lot more than flesh and blood to be alive. It takes something you'll never have. It takes a soul.
Brainiac reacts incredulous, but it sinks in. And with an added burst of speed, Superman pushes Brainiac through the hull of the ship and into outer space. Superman continues to push Brainiac at an ever-mounting speed. He's still encapsulated by the force field.
You'll drift forever out here.
With a final mighty push, Superman sends Brainiac hurtling helplessly adrift. With no way to stop the momentum, Brainiac hurtles away into deep space, somersaulting again and again. Superman hovers in space, watching Brainiac disappearing into the black void.
I won.
Superman turns, heading back to the gigantic ship. We cut to the Metropolis City A. Superman holds the cables and tubing, plugging them back into their proper slots. Water, air, electricity, all flowing back into the city as we cut to Superman's face looking down into the tiny metropolis, smiling. Daily Planet office. Harry is slumped over his desk. Jimmy in the corner. Martha on the couch. Suddenly a fan turns on. The air blowing on Perry revives him. Superman's huge face looming over the city.
Water! The water's back on! It's Superman!
Perry manages a wee smile. Martha looks up faintly and she smiles.
My boy. My boy's back home.
Way to go. Way to go, Superman.
Cut to Brainiac in outer space, drifting, his mouth open and shouting, but we do not hear. His force field still protecting him. Then Brainiac reaches to his belt and shuts down his force field. As he begins to die from lack of air and freezing space, he straightens as he reaches up and rips his electrodes from his scalp and screams in agony. Nobody can hear him in outer space. With his dying breath, he tosses his electrodes out, and they float away, and Brainiac dies. Close on the floating electrodes, one of the electrodes glows red, then another, and another. Then they all blink out and go dead. We cut to the robot Brainiac in the lab, laying on his bed, lifeless. Then an electrode in his head glows red. Another, and another. All the electrodes blink on. The spark of life has been transferred back. The Brainiac robot lives again. Cut to close-up of Lois, tears of happiness.
I knew you could do it, Superman.
Camera pulls back to reveal a tiny Lois standing in the palm of Superman's hand, looking up at him in the Chamber of Cities.
I couldn't have done it without your help, Lois.
Somebody had to find you. The world needed Superman. For once in my life, I decided not to be selfish. Now, would you hurry up and enlarge me so I can give you a kiss?
Suddenly, a deafening noise of hydraulics and motors. Superman turns and sees the robot Brainiac crashing through what remains of the chamber door. Dramatic on Brainiac. He stands there, huge, awesome, powerful, a monster of steel. The silence is shattered by the sound of servo motors, and Brainiac's head swivels.
No more games!
Brainiac's huge, massive arm reaches out and grabs Superman by his cape. Retro's fire and he flies, pulling Superman down a long corridor. Lois tumbles into the top of the Kandor crystal shell. She slips, slides down, bounces into some wires and cables, and keeps sliding and hits the floor, falling through a grating and onto a moving conveyor chain with grapplers that close up on any tiny foreign object. Dust, dirt, grime, and Lois. She's trapped on this moving filter system that brings her closer and closer to a high-intensity disposal field. It disintegrates all particles that pull through it. She struggles to free herself but can't budge. She screams but no one hears her, and she's gone close to death. Meanwhile, cut back to the robot Brainiac flying with Superman, gaining speed and heading straight for the hull of the ship. Brainiac blasts through into outer space, dragging Superman along on the end of his cape. A small planet in the distance. Brainiac gains incredible speed as he zooms down to the surface of the planet Kolu, a savage, primeval world, strange, jungle-like exotic foliage, and a long-lost graveyard for abandoned war machines and spaceships. The wrecks litter the surface for hundreds of miles. Hulking advanced war machines have actually become part of the planet's terrain, encrusted with overgrowth from the planet. A veritable metal jungle of rusted, twisted, dead ships and machinery. Here and there, skeletons of long-decayed warriors of Cosmo's race. Alien skeletons wearing rotted battle armor. Non-human skeletons. Brainiac lands on the surface, dragging Superman by the cape.
Do you like what I've done to my planet, Superman? I was born here. And you will die here.
He begins to swing Superman over his head around and around by the cape. Then he slams Superman to the massive assembly line he recognized from the opening credits. It explodes and shatters. Brainiac flies low, still dragging Superman by his cape as he skims over the jagged landscape. Metal shards and fragments fly as Superman is dragged over the rusted wrecks. Some of the ships explode or burst into flame, many of them still containing live fuel or ammunition. A gauntlet of brute destruction. Superman beams his vision at Brainiac. It has no effect. The unknown alloys comprising Brainiac's exoskeleton are too strong. Using all his strength, Superman manages to flip himself up, landing on Brainiac and grabbing the robot by the neck, trying to pull him down. But the monster machine will not fall. It grabs Superman, lifts him up above his head with both arms, and throws him into a rusted ship, shattering it. The impact leaves Superman dazed. Brainiac moves to a decrepit battlecruiser. From under one wing, he rips off a massive laser ball cannon. He activates it and holds it under one arm, looking like a bizarre robot version of Rambo, and fires basketball-sized laser balls. Kazoom, 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 kazoom. Superman grabs up a small razor-edged wing fin from the ground, holding up in front of him. He wields it like a sword. Superman cleaves the balls of energy as they come at him in rapid succession. Flop, 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 flop. The balls are half careening off in different directions, exploding whenever they hit in the background. Superman's eyes shoot out a beam of heat vision, striking the laser cannon under Brainiac's arm, causing it to explode in spectacular fashion. When the smoke clears, Brainiac stands unscathed. Superman dives forward, flying into Brainiac and letting loose with a rapid series of blows to his midsection. Superman's punches are so hard and swift, sparks and smoke fly where his fists make contact with Brainiac's metal armor. Brainiac retaliates by swinging his arms down and slamming both jumbo fists against the sides of Superman's head at the same time. Superman falls aside, heads to his ears, groggy. Brainiac seizes the moment to rip a huge fuel tank off of one of the wrecks, hurtling at the staggered Superman. The tank explodes against Superman, creating a fireball. The flames quickly dissipate, the Man of Steel nowhere to be seen. Brainiac swivels his head around, looking in all directions.
There's nowhere to hide, Superman.
Suddenly, Superman burrows up out of the ground at Brainiac's feet, getting a firm grip on the robot's left arm, pressing his boots against Brainiac's massive chest. Superman pulls the huge arm with all his might until he actually rips the arm clear out of its socket. He takes the end of the deactivated arm with both hands, swings it at Brainiac, easily beating him back with his own super armored fist. Brainiac is knocked off his feet. He tumbles backwards. Superman thinks he has the advantage until the severed arm suddenly activates and a massive hand attacks Superman, clutching his neck in a deadly chokehold. Brainiac is on his feet again, electrodes flashing. He holds out his stump, and before our eyes, his 12th level brain regenerates an entire new mechanical arm in seconds. Superman manages to pry apart the fingers of the giant severed hand, and with a mighty effort, tears the arm apart down the middle. Components, wires, spark, they all spill out, and Brainiac roars, then lumbers forward. Superman lets loose with a powerful blast of super breath blowing the 100-mile-per-hour wind. Brainiac swept up off the ground by the wind, thrown into a rusted saucer ship. Brainiac lifts the huge saucer over his head with one arm, revealing it has two massive jet engine cones. With his other arm, Brainiac punches up through the belly of the ship. Inside the rusted ship, two alien skeletons still strapped into their seats as Brainiac's fist punches up through the floorboard and his hand pulls a lever on the cockpit panel. The saucer's powerful nuclear engines wind alike, creating a super powerful suction from the engine cone. Such an awesome vacuum force. Superman's caught off guard, whisked off his feet, and sucked up into the spinning maw. A terrible grinding sound falls as we hear Superman's body being churned and chewed up by the engine. It spits him out the back end, sending him hurtling into another wreck, which explodes into another fireball. When the smoke clears, Superman is sprawled in the dirt, flames roaring all around him, barely able to function, nearly beaten. He looks up to see, from his point of view, Brainiac lumbering towards him from across the battlefield. Brainiac's image distorted by the heat of the fire.
It's not death you fear. It's me.
Cut to Lois, still on the moving chain, struggling furiously, trying to free herself, now inches from certain death. Cut back to Superman, fighting to stay conscious as Brainiac is almost upon him. Superman then notices something on the ground near him. A tiny titanium bolt laying in the flames. Superman reaches out with his hand to pick up the small bolt, and we notice he's still wearing his wrist device. Brainiac continues coming at Superman. Superman thinks for a beat, activates the shrink setting, and shrinks down to millimeter size. The bolt next to him has taken on relatively giant proportions, almost the size of a car. The tiny Superman lifts the huge bolt and flies up into the air. Brainiac looks around frantically for Superman, unaware of the shrinking.
By now you should welcome death, Superman.
Tiny Superman in flight carries the bolt. Like David to Goliath, Superman streaks at an incredible speed, heading right into the black fiber optic eye of Brainiac.
Beg for it.
Brainiac reacts as if a cinder has entered his eye. He flicks at his eye, but Superman's already inside. Inside Brainiac's computerized brain, our tiny Superman emerges from the optic tube and streaks deep inside this microscopic maze of alien microcomponents and circuitry. Superman removes the wrist device, sets it to the enlarged setting, then fastens it to the bolt, plants the bolt into a giant microchip, and seconds later, the bolt starts to grow. It grows faster than a runaway freight train, rapidly crushing and eating into the microcomponents all around it. So fast, the tiny Superman can barely keep ahead of the swiftly growing metal bolt as he zooms back out the optic tube. Brainiac reacts violently to the insidious process of destruction underway inside his brain, letting out a mechanized howl of incalculable pain. He claws at himself. His massive metal fingers start tearing into the side of his head, trying desperately to extract the source of pain, actually lacerating his own head apart. We close up on Brainiac's black robotic eye and the tiny Superman flying out, barely ahead of the ever-expanding bolt, which by now has eaten a half of Brainiac's brain. Brainiac keeps clawing at his disintegrating head, much of its computerized interior exposed to open air now. One mechanized eye pops out, the other explodes, sparks and smoke pour forth, the giant bolt still rapidly growing, Brainiac continuing to rip his own head apart, and it explodes! Brainiac staggers back, a sparking and flaming juggernaut, stumbling into the live engine of another rusted warship. A spark from the dying robot ignites the engine. A horrific explosion. The blast knocks the micro Superman back as he tumbles in the air, finally regaining flight. He heads up and away from Kolu. On the surface, a runaway chain reaction takes place as ship after volatile ship explodes. More fireballs, bum, 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 bum. More and more explosions, warship after warship. The whole planet is engulfed in fire. Our tiny Superman, flying at full speed to get away from the unearthly fire and intense heat. He leaves the atmosphere behind and ventures into outer space. Behind him, there are more and more explosions on the surface. A planet-wide nuclear chain reaction, and in moments, the whole atmosphere is ignited. The planet is on fire, and in the depths of this volatile inferno lays Brainiac, destroyed, decimated, the victim of a hell of his own making. As the camera pulls back, we realize the planetoid is becoming a nuclear fireball. The beginning of life itself. A sun. We cut back to Lois fighting to the bitter end as she's about to be consumed with the disposal field. Realizing she's lost, she closes her eyes waiting for death when suddenly a horrific clash of metal gears as giant foreboding-looking robot fingers grip the moving chain, stopping it. Lois looks up terrified as she's lifted up out of the grating. She's confused as she looks up to see the giant robot face of the new Kosmo. Not an android, but an advanced mechanized robot, similar to Brainiac's robotic shell. But it's definitely Kosmo. The face of a robotic version of the little guy we once knew. He lives again.
Cosmo?
On the Kosmo robot, holding a tiny Lois in the palm of his robotic hand, the baby drone and the other drones at Cosmo's feet bleeping happily.
Yes, Lois Lane. It's me. My body may have died, but I live on, thanks to my little friends.
The drones beep.
They learned from the master.
Our tiny Superman flying into shot, hovering by Lois. Superman reacts to the giant Cosmo robot.
Superman.
I saw what you did, Superman. The universe thanks you.
Oh, I guess you two haven't met. Superman, this is Cosmo.
Superman smiles, then lands next to Lois. A beat, then they kiss. Passionately. We push in on them and cut to Earth Crater where Metropolis was taken. A cone of light beams down and we see the city of Metropolis placed back where it belongs. We cut back to outer space, the Brainiac ship hovering in space near Earth having done its job. Inside the ship, the robot Cosmo sits in the command chair, the baby drone and his brother drones next to him. The baby drone beeps and bobs up and down happily.
Give me the Alpha Centauri coordinates. Now, let's move out. We've got more cities to take home.
The baby drone beeps happily. In outer space, Brainiac's ship zooms off into the stars. We dissolve to the cold, windswept Arctic day. The aurora borealis colorfully reflects off the white snow. We move towards an awesome, otherworldly sight, Superman's Fortress of Solitude. Moving inside, past the stark white crystal slots of the fortress, we come upon a familiar crystalline egg. This is Kandor, in its new home, next to a affordable shrinking machine. We push in through the crystal wall, past the magnificent firefalls, into a futuristic Kandorian hotel on the bank of Jewel Mountain. We dissolve to a close on Lois's face, the light of the firefalls reflecting in through the window, leaving her face mostly in shadow. We follow her down as she sensually kisses Superman, who's laying back on a bed. The two bodies are beautiful and passionate, making love, the ultimate explosion of passion, physical and emotional love. We move in as they become one. Cut to, inside the hotel room night, Superman and Lois in bed sitting up, the light of the firefalls still reflecting in the window.
We really have to leave?
Like you said, Lois, the world needs me.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Whoever said being Mrs. Superman would be easy?
Superman smiles.
Here I am again. The biggest story of my life, and no one to tell it to.
As Superman kisses Lois, we dissolve to the interior of the Daily Planet day. Everything back to normal, a busy city newsrooms. Clark is at his desk. Lois walks in with Martha. Clark looks up anxious.
Well, what did the doctor say?
Lois smiles to Martha.
Well, there's good news and bad news.
Suddenly, Perry rushes out, bellowing.
Lois, there you are. I just got a breaking hostage situation over at First National. Olsen, get a camera. Get down there.
Right.
Perry, can't this wait?
Wait. You're our ace reporter. Get out there!
Lois suddenly grabs her stomach.
I'm not feeling too well, Perry. Maybe Clark can take this one. I need some fresh air.
She walks into the hallway with Martha. Clark is up and after her.
I'd better see if she's all right.
What is wrong with everyone? Will somebody get down to the bank?
In the hallway, Clark moves to Lois and Martha.
Well?
Lois looks to Martha, then to Clark.
Kellen, dear.
Lois hesitant, then...
It's a boy.
Clark smiles, can't believe it.
And a girl.
Clark stunned for a beat, and another beat before he can say anything.
Snap out of it, Clark. Now, go on. There's a job for Superman.
As Martha and Lois look on, Clark whips off his glasses, rips open his shirt, as we cut to shooting directly down from a height of 1,000 feet. Superman bullets up towards us at incredible speed, heading straight towards camera, then away from camera, continuing up, up and away into the vast blue sky, heading directly towards the brilliant yellow sun, as we hear the majestic Superman theme, and we fade out the end. All right, well, I mean, so I guess the first obvious question is like, what was the inception of this? How did you guys two meet? How did you guys start coming up, Ilya, how did you start coming up with the story? And then Mark, how did this inception for Superman Reborn kind of come about?
Well, I've got been going, yeah, I was gonna say with Drew, before I met Ilya, he was producing a Superboy show. In 1989, it went 4 years. It was a syndicated show, probably before anybody was born. I think 88, 89, 90. And I came in on the second year with Terry Bates came in with me, and I was a writer. We were both writers on the show. And the second year, we sort of changed the whole format of the show. We brought in the bigger-than-life comic book superheroes, and the show went way up in the ratings, and it did very well. It went 2 years after. But after the second season, Ilya decided to develop Superman 5 to, sort of offset Superman 4, which he did the blame for, and sort of resurrect it, called Superman the New Movie. So we ended up making a deal with Ilya and Alexander, his father, Alexander Sobin, to write the script for Warner Brothers, to write the new version that was going to star Christopher Reeve. And so that's how it came about. So I met Ilya on the Superboy show. We did it. Do you want to go forward from that?
Yeah, no, I met Reeve. We met in New York at the Carlisle Hotel. And he was ready to do it. I mean, it was a very good meeting. And he had read the script and he liked it. So that was very optimistic. But then that didn't happen. For whatever reason, why didn't it happen?
Very simple. Ilya and Alexander own the rights to the Superman movie, and so they developed the script with Warner Brothers because DC were consultants and they had to go over the script or give us notes. Basically, it was political. Warner Brothers decided the Salkinds owned the rights, but Warner Brothers had distribution rights, and they said, well, it's now got a real big potential, after the first movies that Ilya and his dad did, and they said basically, we want the rights back. We'd rather do it ourselves because Ilya was in charge of the Superman stuff. And so they did read our script. They gave some notes, which became some other drafts, which I don't think were as good as this one that you guys performed. But they ended up doing, negotiating with Alexander to buy the rights back. They figured, you know what, it's a big property now, why should we work with other people? We're Warner Brothers, we'll buy the rights back. So basically, kind of in a little bit of a sabotage way, they weren't gonna make the script because they decided we want to do it ourselves. And I think that's basically the simplicity of it, is they ended up paying a lot of money to buy the rights back from Ilya and Alexander, and then decided to go ahead and develop it on their own. That's where they brought in Tim Burton and John Peters to produce it. I'm sure everybody knows the stories of how that went. So that was basically it. They just bought the rights back and wanted to produce it themselves, which is what studios do. And so this script, even though Christopher Reeve liked it, and if the deal had been made, and he'd given his notes on the rewriting, but it never came about. And this is around 91, I guess 91, 92, and then sadly he had the accident in 94, 95. But they already could have used Christopher Reeve when they started developing it. Prior to his accident, they were going with Nicolas Cage, whoever you do. So that's basically it. Warner Brothers wanted to get it back, so no matter how good this script was, they weren't going to do it.
Gotcha. You mentioned you talked to Christopher about the script. Was there any other actors that you talked to beforehand, like Margot?
No. It was Christopher. I think this one doesn't know.
Who did you get? We are close.
Oh,
Yeah. We're going to talk to the sound guy later.
No, I talked to Christopher. As I said, we had a lunch at New York, and he had read the script, and he was ready to do it, no question. But then, as Mark said, it went on, and then Warner's, because DC really belongs to Warner's. So it's Warner's who was really doing the strength more than DC.
What made you guys want to do Brainiac for this film?
They had done Lex Luthor in all of the movies. Well, basically Lex Luthor was, I think, overdone. I always thought Brainiac, I think Ilya agreed, was the greatest villain. I mean, as a kid, I wrote in the 60s, I read the comic books, Brainiac, and I said, how can they not use Brainiac where he shrinks the city of Kandor, and number 5, which we would have been number 5, the one that Bryan Singer did, that I'm not ashamed to say I didn't like that movie. I thought they did Lex Luthor again on a yacht or something. I mean, Brainiac was bigger than life, and Brainiac was monumental and robot, and I thought we thought the whole, wanting to shrink cities was just a bigger, more spectacular villain. And so, but I mean, we basically, Cary Bates and I and Ilya came up, and Cary was a comic book writer, and Cary wrote the screenplay with me, so he was a comic book writer. I used to read his comic books. But he wasn't that much older than me, but I still, he started very young at DC, and I used to read his comic books, and he knew, and he loved Brainiac. I loved Brainiac, and Ilya loved him. So we just said we got to use Brainiac, for number 5, because it would have been number 5. It would have been after the canon.
If number 5 had done well, which I think it would have, because I think everybody here really enjoyed the script, do you think that there could have been then maybe a number 6? And
yeah. Well, one of the things we did.
Yes, I mean, no, there would have been a number 6 and even a number 7. But,
well, this version had Lois being pregnant.
Right.
And that was not what DC wanted. And by the way, I don't know if anybody knows, but they had a Superman death.
Yes.
Okay, that came after our US.
Yes.
Okay, Mike Carlin and Andrew Heffler, I believe, and they're great guys. They were the consultants for DC, so I'm not going to say anything bad about them because they're still around, but they were good guys. But they ended up doing a big comic book of the death of Superman and stuff. It came after our script.
Yeah.
So they didn't buy our script. I mean, they didn't produce our script, and they said, hey, that's a good idea. Let's kill Superman. So we got, Ilya, me, and Cary got the credit for that, or should get the credit for that. But we made them pregnant. They didn't want that. I remember they did not want, and we made it a boy and a girl. And we were going to have one have superpowers and one not. So that would continue number 6. Number 6, they would be teenagers or whatever. So yeah, it was planned out to continue, number 6, number 7, number 8, and so on.
You mentioned the death of Superman in the comics, and even reading this, it was very interesting how Brainiac holds his uniform and his cape, and it made me think instantly of his cape billowing in the wind after Doomsday beats him in the comics. Was there ever a fear when going back and forth with Warner Brothers after they gave you notes that like they might try to undercut you at some?
So they didn't get, no, we had all that in our script.
Right.
And then they gave some cursory notes. I remember the biggest notes, I think it was not to have them married or have her get pregnant or have kids, but you know, the draft that's out there on the internet, it's not a whole lot different. I mean, you know, so I think they were just giving us busy work while they were negotiating with Ilya's dad to sell the rights back. But no, I remember when the comic came out, you know, I should have called up and said, hey, because they liked the death of Superman in our script. And that was us. We came up with it, Ilya, Cary, and I. We came up with the death of Superman and the leather going out there. And so since they own the script, technically, and they didn't go forward with production, they ended up using it in a comic book, or using that concept. I'm not saying he stole the story or anything, but we did do it, and I remember they liked it, and obviously enough that they said later, let's go make a comic book where Superman dies. So it was really political. So, you know, they just, you know, it wouldn't have mattered how good the script was. They wanted to do it themselves, and that's a common thing.
Did you have any actors in mind to play Brainiac when you were writing it? Was there anybody in particular you thought of? Obviously, Gene Hackman is iconic, as Lex have.
I mean, I didn't. I don't know if Ilya, did you? I mean, you got into a little bit of pre-production, or you had some artists and directors, baby. Did you have any directors?
Yeah, we had a director that worked on it for a while.
Who was that?
I sadly love remember.
Not Kosmo. Was the guy who ended up Columbus that you fired? That's no secret.
Marco Giannino.
No.
Not Marco.
No, the guy that was gonna do Christopher Columbus, but I think you.
Oh, Ridley Scott. He did it.
I wasn't involved in it.
And he did it Christopher Columbus. Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
There were two Christopher Columbus.
No, I'd say you're Christopher Columbus.
And Ridley Scott.
Yeah, but who was the guy that you had hired? And because I was back in LA, I was working on another movie at that time. But you had a guy that was kind of a nightmare. I think he passed away, so we can talk about it. And he was crazy, and he had done Stallone's Cobra.
Oh, Cosmatos.
That's it. Was he gonna be considered for Superman?
Yes, it was considered, absolutely, yes. And then we had a fight, and they fought back. He was very difficult. I mean, the poor guy is dead now. I mean,
yeah.
We're very difficult guy.
Okay. And but at what point you were thinking of him for Superman, but then since it didn't go forward, you started him on Christopher Columbus, and then found out how nutty he was. Because he didn't do Christopher Columbus.
No, he didn't do it, but he did his own Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, that was written.
Already, yes.
So any other directors that you had thought of for Superman?
No, I don't think so.
It's one of those, if it had been greenlit,
right,
there would, everybody would have come out of the woodwork.
Absolutely.
And things, so there were, because didn't you say that you wanted Steven Spielberg? Maybe I'll probably give some great insight that in the first Superman, that you wanted Steven Spielberg and your dad said no?
It's worse.
Okay, tell that story. I think
it's a horrible story because...
those are the good cards.
This is a good story, actually, because we were based in Paris then, and France, and no, because there's a Paris, Texas, right?
Yes.
I always say France, but
Spielberg, Superman, the first Superman.
And first, when I was looking for directors, the agents of Spielberg called me in Paris and said, there's this young director, and he's very interested to do Superman. Now, he hadn't done, Jaws had not come out. Well, this was before Jaws came.
We had shot it, but it hadn't been released.
It had been released. So I said to my father, "That's fantastic." Because I went to see his two films that he had made, The Duel
On Sugarland.
and Sugarland Express. And Sugarland Express, yeah. And I said to my father, "He's great. This is fantastic. We have to take it." And he wanted to do it. So then, when the jaws opened, of course, my father said, "Oh, go get him, go get him." So I called the agent again, and he said, yes, he wants to make a musical out, which was a nice way of saying, you could go and you could go and have a nice day. I mean, but Jaws are open, and you didn't do it.
How did you get Dick Dodds? How did that come about?
That was my first ex-wife, and she knew Dick Dawes.
More than one, so I have to say first.
Yes, I would lie 3 times, so I have to say for the second, third. And
I was never married, so I just zero.
Yeah. The first ex-wife said, there's this guy, he's very good, I know him, Dick Dawes. So I went to see The Omen, which is the film that he had made, which was a big hit. And I thought the film was great. And before him, we had another guy called Guy Hamilton, who had done the Goldfinger, James Bond. Very good director. And then it was between Hamilton and Donner. And finally, I met Donner, and we decided to go with Doug. And he made a very good move.
Yeah, absolutely. I got 2 more questions. Yeah, release. In a recent interview, I saw Michael Olsen, who had the Batman movie rights, had written down on a napkin, and he said he had kicked it around about maybe doing like the Justice League. And a lot of folks on the internet would absolutely have loved that. I know I've seen little fan TikToks about with John Wesley Ships Splash and Christopher Reeve and obviously.
Well, it's even worse than that, because you're saying something very painful, because when we bought the rights, when my father bought the rights of Superman, we had all the rights to all the comic books, including Lois Lane and Virginia Olsen, the Lex Luthor.
You Justice League and Superman?
We would have done Wonder Woman. We had the rights to Wonder Woman. And if we had done a film with Superman, if we had Wonder Woman in it, we had the right to do it. As long as with Superman, we could put anybody of those other actors in, of those other actors.
So was that ever, did you ever think about that? Or, like at some point down the road, or did it ever cross your mind?
Sadly enough, it didn't. Because I could have done Wonder Woman and Superman.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, you had and Superman. Yeah, you had the rights to all the DC characters. As long as Superman was in it.
As long as Superman was there, we could use anybody and those comic book heroes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That would have been something. Good done, World's Finest. Yeah. Wow.
I wrote Super Friends. I started in writing. Yes. Yeah. At Hanna-Barbera. So I've been connected to, DC comics for a long time. I was a DC guy, not a Marvel guy. For some reason, I used to read Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Superboy. So it kind of full circle. Never thought when I was reading the comics that I'd end up writing, working with Ilya and writing the Superman #5, so to speak. So it's funny how it all
Yeah, circles. So now that this is the rock things up, now that this is out there in the world, this first draft that had never been seen before, right? You mentioned I think the third draft had leaked a little bit and whatnot. Is there any plans for this now, or
you know what it'd be great if they say, hey, we should make this as another Superman movie, but it'd be great to do an animator movie.
Yeah.
Because Warner Brothers, they should do a television theatrical kind of animated movie of Superman in the script. So, yeah, Warner Brothers owns it, and the script, and they should do something with it.
Well, we've got a cast ready to go.
They would. By the way, I got to say this cast was excellent. Everybody.
Yeah, it was very good.
Thank you. They're fantastic. They are fantastic. They are the.
That was it's funny. Now, of course, I see it and I go, I would have done a rewrite. That was written 35 years ago.
Yeah, it holds up.
I know.
In my opinion,
I was 10 years old. But it was, and I'm saying it kind of holds up. There's a couple little areas, but it holds up. A lot of action, and it's obviously, and it's great reading the description, and but it never. I remember you thought we wanted to fool the audience, making love to Lois, and then they didn't make love. It was her android, and then you think Brainiac's dead, and he's not dead, and he comes back. So we did a lot of that. It would have been a big picture, but you were ready to do it. And it's just, the politics of Hollywood. So, yeah, but it was very interesting to hear being performed.
Well, I know I can speak for myself, and I think the crew, we love performing it, and we appreciate this opportunity. And let's end on a high note. Let's make this, hopefully this gets made into a cartoon.
I love it. They do a great job.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they haven't done Brainiac. Right?
Yeah. Brainiac, Parasite. Superman has a rogues gallery.
Lex Luthor's great, but Brainiac and there's we'll see.
We'll see. Well, on that note,
yeah,
Mark and Ilya, thank you guys so much for letting us do this. You really appreciate it. Thank you both.
Nice.